November 9th, 2023 Planning Board. We will have a call to order and a roll call, please, Gloria.
Madam Chair,
Present.
Vice Chair Finnerty,
Present.
the Secretary is here. Board Member Catalinato.
Present.
Board Member Mutu.
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
Board Member Fulham.
Present.
We have a quorum, we're all here.
Great. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
An extra one, I didn't know if anybody needed them.
Do we have any minutes, Gloria?
Yes, we do. October 26th, so that would get us up to date.
Great. Motion to accept, motion by Dennis, second by
Second.
Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, seven in favor. Okay. Anthony, you wanted to take number one and then number,
Number 1, then number 9. Kevin's representing both.
okay, 1 and 9.
Up there. No, you could wait, Kevin, actually, I'm gonna do it first and then. So the board can see, first one is Hampton Cove Estates. This is a pre-submission conference report. This is to legalize at the corner here of Canoe Place Road, Fanning Avenue, and Hampton Bays. It's R20 zoning on this side of the road, and then the other side along the water, it's resort waterfront. This had a pre-existing CO, this structure here. I try to give you a street view, you can take a look. Had a pre-existing CO for 8 motel units. Sometime in history, the motel units were converted to co-ops, condos, which is a special exception use in the town code. It's permitted as a special exception. Kevin was retained to help them resolve this situation. So the application is to legalize the conversion into the 8 co-op units.
They're co-ops, because you said condo and co-op.
The code just says condos and or co-ops, actually. So
But this is co-ops.
But this is co-op.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Are there any improvements contemplated?
No.
No.
This is just, is this, oh, this is
Yeah, it's
extended
just that
to,
they did the work, obviously the conversion happened, God knows how long ago, and now they're having to address
Legalizing it.
Yeah.
do you have reports?
Well, it was legalized in terms of a co-op with the state, but not in our code?
Yeah, in our code.
Okay.
And everything's all up to code, fire safety wise.
Well, we'll ultimately, when we deal with the formal application, we'll do referrals to all those agencies. We'll just basically see the aerial, the report here, and the survey.
So our action is to go over a pre-submission.
Yep, and then adopt it. So actually, if you just turn over the page of the report, I could go through the issues that I came up with this.
Okay, so it's R20.
So it is R20 zone, so again, this conversion is permitted by special exception, and there are the general standards, and there are some specific standards in the code. And I'll go through the ones that were, I think, issue. So the first the comment or recommendation notes that there was a pre-existing CO for 8 motel units, which was which didn't have the benefit of a updated CO. There are also some decks that were constructed on this property, and it's not clear based on the records, whether or not there were permits or correct permits. So I'm noting in here that the decks could be an issue and have to be addressed. And they were set right up against the northerly property line, so there could be setback issues that would either have to be addressed through zoning relief or reconstruction. But we at least identified the issue.
Where are you, Anthony?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm number 1 on the certificate.
The CO, 1972.
Yeah, it goes back to 1972. So that one, we're talking about the decks that also have been built and or expanded without the benefits of permits, so that's going to have to be addressed in this process as well. Number 2, one of the specific standards, and that should say 330, not 33, the symbol there, 330-155E. The units have to be 600 square feet minimum. The floor plans don't provide total square footages for the units, so based on my estimation, I don't probably have it printed there because they came on big sheets. But they don't provide the actual breakdown of the units.
No, this is not it.
No, that's just the survey showing the, I probably didn't attach the floor plan. So they did give a floor plan, it shows the 8 units in there, but like I said, they don't say how big they are, so that's just gotta be confirmed. If there's an issue with the size, it's gotta be addressed then.
Are these the closet?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that too, yeah.
Can you just backtrack just a
Sure.
second for me? What are we doing here today?
This is the report, the pre-submission conference report identifying the issues that I
Okay.
came up with in reviewing
So
the,
then they're gonna have an actual submission?
At
This
some
is
point,
just-
yeah.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
just preliminary
You may have
issues.
said that, but I,
not
When
at all.
when did we have the hearing?
Oh, this was
August?
in August.
August 2020,
Yeah,
okay.
The third one talks about what you were just mentioning. The floor plans show these units with bedrooms, and then they have an area that says storage with closet space in there. I believe that those are bedrooms. I don't believe there's any issues with having 2-bedroom units, but they should be properly noted on the floor plans, because the building department also has to make sure that they comply with whatever building code requirements that you were alluding to as well. So, so that's got to be addressed.
and they both have windows.
I don't remember.
No,
but
the
that-
closets don't have windows.
No, the bedroom.
The storage units, they
Yes.
said, the
Yes.
bedrooms have windows, and the storage, I have to go back and look, but they labeled as storage, and I raised the
Right.
question of whether they're.
Okay.
They're tiny.
Because, yeah, I mean, they're all roughly 93 to 100, square feet, probably, small bedrooms. There's a shed shown on the plan there that should be relocated to a conforming location. It's on the survey. It's just sitting up against the back property line. It may just come down. It's not shown on the survey for number 5 here, but there's a dumpster. It's clean, but it looks like it's sitting right in the right-of-way. Again, it's not, the board can see it right here. So we note that it's gonna have to be located to a more suitable location. Again, it's very clean, but obviously they need to have the dumpster.
Well, we've got to put the requisite fencing.
And the
close.
proper fencing, and we'll note that in there, actually, with the proper fencing and screening. Number 6, talk about a septic system upgrade. I just believe that this project's gonna necessitate it. I think it's gonna be driven more by the requirements of the county and the building department, but I believe that
So they'll get an IA
it
system.
would be an IA system.
And they have space for this, or is- they're just on
Yeah, right up there.
normal
That's-
septic, yeah. that covers it.
Well, it's good, these septic systems are fairly
Oh, yeah,
condensed
they're
in design.
yeah.
Number 7, again, I gotta fix that 330. One of the special exception criteria, this is classified as a type 1 action under SECRA. So at the time of a formal, they'll need a long EAF, and we gotta coordinate with the other agencies. And then 8, I just note that if they have to go to the zoning board at some point for something, we have our comments already prepared. There's not a lot of issues. You can see that the site's actually pretty well kept. That's probably why it's been off the radar. This happens a lot when the properties are well maintained. No one's drawing attention to it, but now it's
Well,
noted.
they're trying
And
to sell some units now. That's-
yeah, well, that's the other side of it. You start trying to do something and it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I mean, why all of a sudden is this happening? Is there,
Yeah, I think maybe someone is trying to sell a unit, maybe.
Yeah, they are, this for the first time.
Violations.
Oh, Kevin, you could just go to the,
Please identify yourself.
Kevin Springer, Dynamic Legal, 61 Channing Cross, Hampton Bays, New York. The property, one, you're gonna love this story, but one of the owners turned in one of the other owners for doing some work, which prompted code enforcement to come down and write up a violation. That proceeded into multiple violations with a lot of infighting amongst the unit owners. Now there is some work being done, but it is being through permits. As Anthony said, it is a very clean space. It's very well kept. The units, I believe, are right around the 600, so I am going to have the engineer get the exact measurements and then put those in there. With the storage, there are several where basically on some of the units, there is a wall, it doesn't go to the ceiling, so they blocked it off. Now, whether they're using them for a bedroom or not, I can't speak to that, I don't know, but it doesn't go all the way. And we have one of the board members here who basically we would recommend that you have to take them down. Because obviously they were never meant to be 2 bedrooms. And that's really that. The dumpster, obviously we need to move that. The deck that's on the northerly portion, actually I believe we found some old paperwork that actually legalizes that, but I have to confirm that through the building department. And that was really it. Everything else, we don't, obviously we have to fill out the long form, which is okay. And then, obviously we have to go through the building department and
What about
see
the
what they
shed?
require. Shed will be moved also, yeah. It's not a very large shed, but it is obviously tucked in the corner and does need to be 10 feet off the property line.
Anthony, should we get a typical floor plan of one of the units, just so we have it for the record?
Yeah,
It's-
I have one, do you
we
need
have
one?
floor plans,
They're big.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, so
showing
they're
each
part-
unit, but
Oh,
they're
they
just
do.
incomplete, basically.
They're in-
I have one if you'd like to view it. I have one with me.
Oh, no, just,
Okay.
this is, as long as we have it for the record.
Yes, for sure, we have to, so confirm, so.
Yeah, I will get that updated to the engineer who did it.
And to clarify, because I found sometimes these old records with decks going back to the 70s and everything, I'm not saying 100% that the decks are illegal, because there were some permits issued. I'm just not entirely sure, so
You have to
let's
see it.
just confirm.
Yeah, well, which we will, and also, back then, a deck at 12 inches high there was no permit needed for it,
Yeah.
because it was considered ground level or just above,
Yep.
which they kind of still do, but it's a gray area in the building department. But back then, it was, I think we found something that will actually say it's okay. And if not, we'll have to address it.
Yes. Okay.
I think those right down
Okay.
on issues.
Any other questions?
I'll move to adopt the report.
Move to adopt, motion by Dennis to adopt, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Thank you. And then number 9, Anthony, is Gaspar and Devero Teresi.
Actually.
Like your little packets and.
That's because I didn't send anything out. So-
He noticed.
So- I have to be somewhat prepared.
We're gonna have to go over these carefully.
Yeah.
because we didn't read them.
These, at least this is not a complicated project, thankfully.
Okay.
So it's up there on the screen as well. You should have an aerial in your little packet as well. Actually, can I hold that one on check?
Yeah, you
So,
want
so basically, this is a subdivision and a lot line change, R20 zoning, Fanning Avenue and Wakeman. You can see up there, the Fanning Avenue property. And then it's also this property here, which is on Wakeman. They're adjacent to each other under the same ownership. The plan basically is to do a little lot line change. This property is gonna get a little sliver of this piece, and this lot then gets subdivided down the middle to create 2 lots. This structure would be demoed, the structures in the back would be demoed. And ultimately, you end up with one more residence than what's there now. So that's.
But are they merging that?
No, this is a separate lot. They're just giving a sliver of land from this piece to make this one bigger, and probably to address an encroachment. But there was no zoning issues or anything like that.
Well, it looks like the pool was 15 feet from the old lot line.
Yeah. But there was no permits or setback issues with that, so, at the time that the pool was put in, zoning and could have changed subsequent to that.
So we're creating irregularly shaped lots with this. Is there any possibility to run that line all the way down? That little piece?
Yeah, let me take a look again. Yeah, I mean, this lot in question is the one that becomes somewhat irregularly shaped. But,
Just sort of notched into it.
yeah, it just sort of notched into it. It didn't, it is a little irregularly shaped. I didn't have any major issues with it, only because this was the portion of the property. It couldn't really go all the way down. Well, because then this piece then would have basically a flag strip off a fanning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that would be sillier than what this is now.
What's gonna happen to the existing cottage on lot 2?
the one that's in the middle there?
Well, they're saying proposed dwelling, but then there's a one-story cottage.
Yeah, that's gonna be demoed.
That's good, okay, so it should.
Should be
okay, to
noted then.
demolished, Yep. it is.
Okay.
This area of Hampton Bays is seeing a lot of activity related to renovations and lot clearing. And is there any mechanism for us to ask, even though there's not a restriction, to ask for that to be considered in the site plan to maintain some of the community character of the large growth of trees and
That's something,
things like that?
you'll see in my little report here, I left out the buffer. I usually gray that out for the discussion purposes
Okay,
to see where we want to go.
thanks.
So this is final conditional approval?
Yep, final conditional approval, and you have the resolution here. I'll go through with you. The first page, project description. We adopted the pre-application report for this in May of 26, 2022. Type 2 action under SECRA, and no further environmental review is required. You deem this final application complete and then waive the hearing with a 30-day written comment period. At the bottom of the very first page talks about the findings. Number one, the health department approved this subdivision August 4th with individual septic systems and public water.
They did?
It's August of '23, isn't that IA
It's
Systems?
gotta be IA.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
say that.
Yeah, no, I didn't distinguish it, because what they do is the way that they do an approval for what they call septic systems and public water. We require the IA, and that's what they have to put here, the health department
So
required.
individual IA.
We could put IA in there,
septic
100%.
systems, yeah.
That is the requirement now.
Yeah,
There's
but
no-
it doesn't read that way.
Yeah, it does. And the health department has their own covenants. Two, again, the pre-application report that was adopted, and this map is in agreement with that. Again, type 2 action under SECRA. It is an archaeological, so that was done. They didn't find anything. Number 5, final public hearing was waived with a 30-day written comment period, and no comments were received. And the park fee, the park would be satisfied with a fee in this case. You have 2 existing residences, so it would be assessed for the 1 new residence at $2,500. We got comments from the Department of Fire Prevention. They just note street addresses, and they have adequate water mains and hydrants.
The one-story cottage was the CUO?
What's that?
The one-story cottage was.
In the back, you mean?
Yeah,
We raised the question in the pre-application report, and it's being demolished because I did not see any COs for that
so where are
structure.
the 2 existing dwellings?
What was that? Oh, the one on Wakeman, the one where we're doing the lot line change.
Yeah,
So that has a house on it already, and then the lot in the middle, that's breaking down into 2.
oh, I see, it, yeah.
So they have 1 on that
Yeah,
property.
that's demolished.
Can't give them credit for the other one.
Yeah.
We had the comments from the town engineer. Number one, they talk about, there's some minor map changes, actually. Although it talks about on Wakeman, there's a hedgerow that's in the right-of-way, so that's gonna have to be addressed, and I'll have to put it in the resolution. And then the subdivision map, just the standard requirements, the CNRs relating to the drainage and the speedies prior to the issuance of a building permit, and the monuments, which is standard. Conservation Board provided recommendations, and to your point, they talk about the woods in the back part of the property, and they talk about creating a buffer. It's hard to see, it's a little bit easier up here. You know, back here, you have the two existing structures that are gonna come out. I don't know if you can see it here, I haven't been to the property, but if you look, there's a lot of dead vegetation sitting back here. So when I get to that buffer point, we can talk about that issue.
Do you know why that happened?
Probably the beetle, but I couldn't say for certain.
Pine beetle?
We get a lot of that these days, it seems. They just fall over eventually. So anyway, the Conservation Board always likes to try to protect trees as much as possible. And talk about hand removal of any debris. Obviously, like I said, there's structures and things going on, but all that's got to be removed as part of this approval. Suffolk County Department of Economic Development and Planning said this is a matter for local determination. Hampton-based Fire District said there's sufficient fire protection within 200 feet. We didn't get any comments from the Trails Advisory this time, but I do note that at the pre-application, they said there were no trail implications, so let's put it in there. Same thing with the landmarks and historic districts. They didn't give us anything this time, but I put the comments in from their original review. Nothing's really going to change. And they just happened to note that the existing cottage would be subject to the ordinary referral for demolition to the Landmarks Board. That's part of the building permit process they refer to there. Once it's 75 years or older, it automatically goes to the Landmarks Board. They'll make their recommendations and they could go from there. So I actually just imposed that as a condition in the resolution. So at the bottom of that page, there's a resolution to approve the subdivision with conditions. Talks about the map changes. Here's where we talk about the buffers. I don't know how what we try to do with clearing is hard to do a lot of times when you're not in the aquifer. Shinnecock, we have imposed clearing restrictions before in non-aquifer areas. It's been done before. Typically Shinnecock Hills, maybe other areas that, make sense. Here, having been out there, some of that vegetation, is dead. I don't know how much we get out of a buffer in this case, from a, just a realistic standpoint. So I put it for an open discussion to see what the board, how they feel about it.
But you're talking about dead trees, why didn't the Conservation Board note that? They just talk about debris that has to be hand cleared. Any discarded legal debris within the easterly needs to be hand removed. But they don't talk about any kind of blight or anything.
Yeah, the same thing with, which will be an extension actually today for 32 Hill Station. They talk about establishing buffers and easements. Even with dead vegetation, if you see it sitting there, but there's still other vegetation around, the Conservation Board does like to, still preserve it. That's just the nature. You will find Marty's office will often say if it's been infested with the beetle, just leave the dead vegetation there. Once the vegetation's dead, they've moved on somewhere else, and it's better to let the vegetation rot and nutrients into the ground.
Interesting. East Hampton's doing a whole other thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
East
fire
Hampton
issues.
is tearing,
Which-
cutting down the road,
100%,
Yeah.
which we raised on the previous application before, by the way. So here, I didn't have a really strong recommendation either way for a buffer, so I left it for discussion purposes to see.
Yeah, generally down Fanning and Argonne East especially, it's more about maintaining like silt and site runoff that really just goes right like a flume down right into the bay there, which as noted by the Conservation Board, is a high priority water quality improvement zone in Shinnecock Bay there. So I think, you know, this project aside, it's worth a consideration of maintaining a buffer, even just along the roadside, like wildlife corridor, community character, and maintaining, you know, stormwater within the site versus onto the road and down.
Street
And this
trees.
is
Yeah, I see.
not too
There are.
far,
No,
right, like
there's
if you
trees.
go down.
Are there trees?
I mean, we could, doing a buffer along the road is okay, because there's a setback there, so you can't do anything. We would allow for the driveway, obviously, to go in there. We could certainly do, I think, if you do 25 feet off the road there, that'll get you far enough into the property to capture
What's
existing.
the Conservation Board, like, orienting us to the map? So easement extending 35 feet west from the easterly lot line of Lot 3. So they're saying, like, in between the lots.
Yeah, they're talking in this area over here is where they were talking about establishing a buffer. They didn't talk about the road here. So it's, you know, the wooded portions of this property is where they were talking about. Probably.
And what's the ownership of the southerly lot there beyond that?
Over here.
No, like if you put your arrow up is to the south.
To the back of the property.
Back here.
Mhm. Is that all one lot there?
This
Yes.
is one lot back here.
Or
With an
20?
easement or just not cleared?
Was that?
With an easement or,
Yeah, this property is pretty intact here.
but is there an easement recorded on that property?
I don't believe there is.
I don't believe so. I could check right here, actually. Let me just look.
Teresa, do you have any insight as to the pine beetle, what conservation is recommending or doing,
What was
the
the
Updated.
recommendation, Anthony?
No, just.
or? No, just in general, you know, there's a lot of pine beetle infestation, but there's no reference of that here on the conservation board, so I just wondered.
Go up there and speak. Sorry. So generally speaking, once the pine beetle swarm has attacked a pine tree, it's dead, right? It's not gonna, there's no saving it. It's not the pine beetle itself that kills the tree. It introduces a fungus called blue stain fungus, which is why sometimes you'll see on the side of the road a slice or a log, and it's got like this brown, bluish, blackish color inside. And it's basically clogs up the vascular system, so water is not getting up and down the tree. And at certain points, there's so many beetles infesting the trees and introducing the fungus that they send out pheromones and they go and attack another tree. And that's kind of how it works. Unfortunately, once a tree's been attacked by southern pine beetle, there's no saving it, because it's got the fungus in the system now. Generally speaking, you know, if it's not a danger to structures or people, the Conservation Board and the Environment Division recommend that they leave the tree, because the trees can still provide habitat for cavity nesting birds like owls and bats, which obviously are critically endangered right now. And then if it is a problem, they say, give us a call, we'll come out, and we'll, even if you're in APOD, we'll give you permission to cut the tree into sections, limit, score it down the middle so that it exposes any beetles that are still in the tree to kill them. But then they recommend that they just leave them, because you don't want to transport a tree that might have beetles to another site and infest another site. So that's why they recommend that the trees just be left where they are, and then obviously leave the understory, because the understory still has hydrological functions and ecological functions. But again, as long as the tree is not a danger to anyone or any structures, they recommend that they leave them, because they do still provide habitat value.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
No, I mean, I think we're gonna see more and more pine beetle infestation.
Yeah.
And some guidance and guidelines would be great to put into our reports, because they don't mention it here.
Right. Like, again, unfortunately, it is more likely to see increasing southern pine beetle infestations because of the warming climate. Previous years, when we've had really hard freezes, the season following is generally not as active. because they're less adapted to cooler climates. But as you know, climate is changing. It's getting warmer. We didn't have hardly any snow last year. So those are concerns, obviously, that we have to be aware of. And unfortunately, this is a large problem. It's an ongoing problem. It's been studied to death down in the south where they had pine plantations for over 100 years, and they still haven't found a remedy to protect the trees from the southern pine beetle.
East Hampton's cutting down, on the Napeag Road going out toward Montauk. They're all dead.
Well, and they're taking them
miles.
away because of
They're
the fire
cutting them.
concern.
Right. So there are reasons why. It's some instances where it might be appropriate to remove trees and cut them away. It's particularly along highways and major thoroughfares where you have like Napeag Stretch. That's the only road, right? You can't get to Montauk. You can't leave Montauk. So if there is a fire or like the road blockage or during a major storm, that's problematic. That's a safety concern, and that's probably why they're doing it. Initially, when when southern pine beetle first became an emerging issue, the town and Suffolk, the Central Pine Barrens and East Hampton and some other towns, we formed a southern pine beetle task force to try and address these. And in East Hampton, they were going and expending town monies on various properties, inclusive of town properties. But unfortunately, it didn't prevent the spread, right?
They were trying to.
They were trying to prevent the spread because when Southampton realized there was a problem, it was already widespread.
Yeah.
When East Hampton realized there was a problem, it was not that widespread, and now it's unfortunately very widespread. And one beetle can have multiple generations in a season,
I mean,
right?
you drive down 114 and it's
devastating.
yeah.
There is some thought about forest thinning because then you don't have pheromone.
Contagion?
Like pheromone concentrations are reduced because more wind gets in there. But again, that's not necessarily still doesn't necessarily work. And then you're already cutting down trees that were healthy. So it's an ongoing problem. Still a lot of research. There are books like this of studies, multiple books every year. I'm sure Marty would be happy to loan you a copy if you want to read some of it.
I think what would be helpful is that if conservation could identify a stand of trees that are infected and say the foliage on that particular property is infested with pine beetle. So then we are not guessing whether or not we should have the applicant just cut them down or call in the conservation board. Because they usually make a site visit, right?
Yes, site visits are usually done, but usually what happens is a tree can be fine, and then in 3 months it could be dead.
Wow.
Right,
That
so
quickly.
it can happen very quickly. And then when you have years where you have drought and other environmental stressors, it can be more rapid. They may go out and say, it's fine, it looks okay, and then by the time it actually gets through you, it's not so fine. And it can happen very rapidly.
Expanding on Chair LaFaro's point, assuming that this is a pine beetle issue, we don't know for sure, right?
It's actually fairly easy to tell if it's a pine beetle issue.
Right.
If you see an ongoing attack, what will happen is you'll see sap tubes that look like popcorn dotting the entirety of the tree trunk, right?
Okay.
Versus turpentine beetle, where you'll see long streaks of sap, right?
Yeah.
This looks like popcorn,
Right.
right? And then what'll happen is that the tree starts to turn red from the top down because the water's not getting up to the top branches. So it starts to turn red and then it turns black, right? Versus what you often see in a healthy pine tree is every 3 years, like a bunch of the needles drop. So you'll see like a tree, it looks orange, you're like, oh my God, but it still has green needles and it's all over, got orange needles. That's a normal cyclical thing, that they drop their needles every, 3 years or so. That's normal. But when you see a tree, 1 week looks green and healthy, the next week the top looks a little red, that you gotta start looking for the other signs. Is there popcorn on the side of the tree?
But if we subdivide this property and there are going to be 2 new homes there, obviously I don't have my bearings with me. Is that the west or?
The west side is the wooded side.
Okay, so the west side, obviously there'd be clearing there to accommodate the new home. And then there would be the removal of some trees that were,
Possibly
either
infected.
infected or maybe infected. So what are the protocols that we have in place in that case?
In that case, they recommend, if you're doing tree removal and you have to remove off-site, they do recommend you chip to about a 1-inch size.
So you just,
So you kill the beetles.
So you grind them up, yep.
okay.
So really,
Little less.
what we're considering here is irrelevant of whether it's a pine beetle infestation or not, because of, ecological succession, and the forest would grow back in its own way anyway.
Right.
Even if you did leave it or didn't leave it. So, what conservation is recommending is actually shifting the buildable lot area so that the setback is gonna be 20 feet on the east side, and actually put an easement in place on the right side of that map, the westerly side, is
Okay.
that correct?
Yep.
So that whether there's dead trees or not, still other things will grow.
Right, and then that would
And
provide
there's a wildlife corridor and, some habitat that's
right,
maintained
correct.
now or in the future.
Right, because even if you
Right.
have a pine tree that dies, right, and you have a couple of pine trees that die,
Mhm.
over time you will have succession, right? I live in the Pine Barrens, and when we built our house, we had successive years of gypsy moths and cankerworm caterpillars that just decimated our trees, right? And I lost almost all my oak trees on my property. However, in the 15, 17 years that it has intervened behind my house, which was devastated, now we have 30-foot pines, because they grew up that quick.
'Cause they got
Remarkably,
They got the sunshine in the air.
right, remarkably, pitch pines are one of the fastest growing trees we have here on Long Island. I mean, that's why, you see, 30 years later, the area of Sunrise that was
That was
devastated by
burned.
fire
Yeah.
looks like an old forest, right?
So
Because it grows so
there is
fast.
value here, I feel, for a conservation easement in this area, if there's a legal
Well, so
mechanism to do it.
I'm gonna
or
make my
a
recommendation
request of the
then.
client, right?
Teresa, very,
That's kind of the
very
thing we're getting down
informative,
to.
thank you.
You're welcome, have a
Yeah,
good
it's-
night.
I think it could be a covenanted buffer, just because there's nothing adjacent to it that we're creating something larger. I don't know that an easement is necessary, but I could do it as a covenanted buffer. You might have to go back to your client. We could do, if the board wants, you have anything specific, something along the road and then something along this property line. Back here, first of all, this adjacent property is pretty wooded back here. There's no improvements that this would be adjacent to. And they've got to go back here and they've got to clear and take down the existing structures. We normally don't make someone revegetate if it's not an aquifer. So, I could conceivably see doing something along this property line and something along the road.
Would that impact the side yard requirements? for a
Not if
project?
we compromise and don't do 35 feet, we can do 25 feet.
It's R20 too, so the setbacks
It's our 20,
are-
and they could always do the minimum side and the total, they could always choose to reverse that themselves. So that, it
Right.
shouldn't affect the building envelope.
Does it affect the pyramid?
That'll be up to them too. Does it affect pyramid? No, because, well, presumably no, because as long as you're meeting your minimum and total setbacks on the side yard, but that also doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't have, depends on how a house is designed, of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
But that in and of itself doesn't cause a pyramid problem.
I'm questioning the benefits of the road front.
I understand.
If you look at the aerial,
Yeah.
this area's, it's heavily developed, it's just lawns and
100%.
down to,
But did they have, I was just looking at that too, but there is green.
Yeah, look at the street
A
view.
green corridor from the streetscape.
they have street trees, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much lawn running underneath the trees down to the right of way.
Well, if I may interject a couple of things here real quick. Coming from the street up, there is a plan to put evergreens because I'm not sure if you're aware, but Fanning Avenue now has become one of the major side streets to get to Montauk Highway. So there's a ton of traffic, especially in the morning, and they want to buffer the, the property from the road anyway.
They do.
So probably some sort of evergreen or hedgerow, as we've done on the Wakeman house, which we have to move that hedgerow a little bit. That's going to be done anyway.
They'll do arborvitae or something like that.
Yeah, something deer friendly.
That's something,
And
Not
there is,
much.
what's that?
I said, there's not much.
No, not anymore.
Different,
And if you look at the
suggesting-
house the way it is now, to the right of it is the actual east side of the house. So if you're looking at the house right where the arrow is, to the right of that is the eastern portion going towards the bay.
Okay.
We're not going to be, there is a lot of dead beetle going on there, but and it's just laying there, just like Teresa had said, you just let it sit. But there is also some oaks and stuff in there. There's no intention of taking that down because that's the only screening between the other gentleman's house there.
yeah.
So I don't really feel that a 35-foot easement is, in this, if it was a bigger, 4-lot subdivision, I would say, yeah, you take a
So I think
chunk of
maybe
it.
a buffer,
A buffer
a
of
buffer, a
35 feet.
25-foot buffer might seem appropriate. This way you can't guarantee.
Well, that's a pretty big buffer though, when 35 foot.
But 25.
Also, the only other thing I wanted, on the survey from the health department, it is noted on both lots that the septic system is and will have to be, because we are in a high priority.
Yeah.
They are IA systems, and will be IA systems,
Building, but the house.
because they won't get a
obviously
building
right
permit without it.
It's not practical.
So, is there a consensus of the board?
I mean, I think it's at the pleasure of the applicant, right? Because there's no restriction. So what we're saying is, I personally have been, traversing that area for a while. There are a lot of street trees. There's no clearing restrictions, which
Right.
we're trying to work on with the town board, in terms of code and the area for water quality, community character, and habitat. And that if your client would consider adding a buffer, that would be a nice addition to this site plan, for those reasons. And that's really all that we can do, right? So-
I mean, absent, requiring it, like I said,
I
this
don't
was sort
think it's
of.
an overwhelming.
Yeah,
That's what we
I
need.
would support a buffer, 25 feet buffer, sure.
I'm
I
just-
mean, I think it makes sense because they're
We
right
can
next
require
to
it.
a house that's
You
almost.
can require
Yeah, we
it.
can require that as
Yeah.
part of the approval.
Yeah, it's,
which
lot?
lot?
That house is
I
tiny.
guess it would be, Dennis, on that
east,
easternmost lot.
Easternmost lot.
3?
Considered
it'd be
lot
lot
3 on the
But
map.
they haven't laid it out. I mean, they haven't laid out where they're gonna put
So
the houses,
what
have they?
conservation
there's,
is
Yeah, but that doesn't make a
recommending
difference.
No.
We don't,
is 35-foot buffer along the
Eastern side.
eastern side. And actually, that would shift Lot 3's buildable envelope.
Quite a bit.
Right, and so if that's not, then I think we maximize the buffer with the existing building envelope is maybe the place to meet.
Well, I can go back to
Right.
him. I mean, I'm sure he'll be willing to do some kind of buffer because, like I said, there's no intention of actually clearing that now or ever because that's the only natural buffer we have to begin with. And if the trees, they're not, like I said, they're not all pine trees, so not all the trees are gonna
Right,
fall
there's
down.
a lot of-
So, but I will be more than happy to take it back to him and see what he says.
I think 35 is excessive.
okay. Dennis believes 35 is excessive, so
Typically,
What's the
20
difference?
foot has
25?
been our,
usually, look, the board knows when I'm very clear about my buffers, I usually put in the language, here's what I believe is the appropriate recommendation. I left this one out because I, sort of like Dennis, I wasn't sure how,
Right.
urgent it was. So you're gonna go back to your client anyway, but,
So we have 36.6
6.
There's 36 point from the side yard.
yeah.
from the side
Can't even
yard.
dig a
So if it
foundation.
was 25, then it would be like a 10-foot away from the house. Is that enough room to maneuver?
I'm not sure.
But this
Could
is
be
just proposed. I mean, this is a proposed building lot.
Yeah, that's,
You know,
yeah, we're not approving specific.
Well, but they are approved through the Board of Health already.
Well, maybe, yeah, okay, that's for septic. Let me continue, and then we'll come back. So the first one was the buffer. The next one was the postal delivery addresses. Remove the proposed structures and building envelopes ultimately from the plan. You can't file maps like that anyway, so.
Right.
Any requirements by the town engineer. E is about the notation. It just indicates the legal documents that are associated with the subdivision. The next page, a couple more map notations, one regarding compliance with the zoning ordinance, and then the one for signature by the planning board. Second, is the removal of the one-story cottage and the frame shed as shown in the map prior to the signature of the final maps. We usually do that. I have it grayed out, but because that was a discussion item. The park fee, which is $2,500. Declaration of covenants and restrictions. Again, the first one was the buffer discussion, so we'll see what, I'm sorry, good.
In relationship to that, conservation mentions the Shinnecock Bay watershed. Are there any requirements around that Shinnecock Bay watershed? Is there a plan there? Are there standards or?
No,
anything?
it's you know, as
map
the town
determination?
identifies all the, estuaries, right? And so, beyond the normal that we would have for wetland setbacks and stuff like that along the water, there's nothing else
There's nothing
specific
else.
beyond that.
Didn't the county do all that establishment of the watersheds as
Yeah,
part of
they-
the overall project?
Yeah. but
Yeah, well, that's leading them to their next debate, which will be the sewage district that they're
Yeah.
trying desperately to get,
But
so.
that was the logical conservation recommendation because of that proximity. That's why they said a highly valued forested land,
Yeah,
so.
I understand. So on the covenants there, he's gonna discuss with the client about the buffers. Then the next one is the demolition of the existing residence currently located at 91 Fanning Avenue is subject to review by the Landmarks and Historic District Board prior to the issuance of a demolition permit by the Division of Building and Zoning. That was just because that's what came out of Landmarks, so let's just note that before you demo, you have to go to Landmarks. Absent having a historic designated structure, there's not much. That could be done. No further subdivision of the lots, no lot line changes without further approval. The next two talk about utilities and utility poles, so no new overhead utilities, everything should be on the ground. The 3-inch requirement for impervious surfaces. The next one is the coverage under the Speedies permit for each individual lot prior to the issuance of a building permit. And then the last one is the retention of stormwater runoff before, during, and after construction. And to your point, Kate, we do try to put them in the covenants and restrictions, even though they're requirements of the code that all runoff is supposed to be retained on site. And typically, that gets reviewed by the engineer as part of the building permit application, so, let's see. But vegetation is a big help to maintain
Right, it's another
vegetation.
backstop.
So seven changes then, right?
Yes, that would, number 7 would change if, but number 5, again, these are the submission of the legal documents, the easement or buffer. Well,
If it's a buffer, it's not an easement.
yeah, if it's a buffer, then it wouldn't have to go to the town board. Submission of the paper prints and Mylars, and then filing of those maps once they're signed within 62 days. Do you want to talk to your client and then
Yeah, I will speak to him tomorrow.
speak to him tomorrow, let me know, because then I could just quickly put it on
On
just
for
to.
December, for
Yeah,
the next session.
Yeah, the next meeting, and I could just quickly fix that one issue. Just let me know, that's all. All right, so
We're meeting next week.
yeah.
What's that?
We're meeting next week.
Yes, I'm
November
aware.
16th.
Just- I
Okay,
like
so no
that.
action.
So no action.
Good.
Yeah, we're okay, we'll come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have Hampton 6 Realty?
Oh, yeah, I guess I have number 3. Oh, so that's the market, so in Hampton Bays. So I actually saw Tom, our engineer, yesterday. He's preparing his memo on that, and we'll have it for next week for us. So he's just very behind. So this one's just gonna be an extension
Extension.
until next week, until November 16th.
Motion?
Motion?
Motion by Craig, second by Gloria.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions,
Who's
extension to November 16th, 7 in favor.
Next, I guess.
Claire, you're up, capital one.
Capital one.
Is anybody here for Bank of America? So I'm gonna skip to applicants, I feel that bad for them for sitting here. My next, so we'll just skip over Capital One. How about, anybody here for, Delandra? No, I like that. How about
Big ring
Sunrise
would do.
Esfiant? Five? Okay.
It's like a game
Yeah,
show.
Item
why don't
five.
you come up? So this is,
Come on down.
Exactly. So this is to do secra and to deem it complete. This is Sunrise at Spion. Actually is a couple doors down from Dean Landro, so very similar applications. This would be just to review the part two.
Is it unlisted?
It's unlisted, yeah. And this was a little bit more unusual. This is the one where the property was cleared because it was the treatment area for when they treated the water for the Superfund sites. So there was some clearing in the back, but it's actually revegetated really nicely. I did a referral to the Pine Barrens, and they came back and said that it's a valuable vegetated area. It's coming back very nicely, and
Pine
that
tree
could
is
be
growing fast. We just found
the pine,
out.
it's actually a beautiful grassland right now,
Oh.
so,
Can we
and that's
get-
valuable too.
Can we get those referrals? That's important for us to
Actually,
read.
I actually,
It's in here?
thought I had a copy of it, but not in this case. It's the other one, Delandra, I gave it to you. It's so funny, 'cause I was gonna have a copy of it, because I thought it was productive. But in this case, they're acceptable to the plan as
Okay.
designed. So this is the plan that's proposed. So, there actually is two plans, too. This is also, they're doing it in two phases. They're doing the 3,000 square feet now, but they're gonna do 10,000 altogether.
Total
It's 3,000 now.
3,000, and then going to whatever
Yeah, 10,000.
whatever this would be, the storage area.
Yeah, so this is gonna be secret on the 10,000 square feet too. So, eventually when they get ready for their second phase, that'll be what is proposed. Very similar again to the Delandra, just a couple doors
Can
down.
we get an area report?
Sure.
So 10,000 square feet is proposed now?
Nope,
No.
3,000. It'll be
Three.
phase one
We're
and
gonna-
two.
Okay, so it's a phased application.
Yeah, it's gonna be phased.
But we're gonna do secret on the whole thing,
Yes, and the reason is,
so we don't segment it.
exactly. So that's why I did the referral to Pine Barrens, so we would know what their master plan was okay on the concept. And this is the parcel in question. This is the clearing that we were talking about, but it's been coming back as grasslands. So the proposal is to do a building very similar to this building, but on the south side, as you can see on the site plan.
So clearing, there's no clearing restrictions here?
There is, so there's also a one caveat with that. So they'll be doing 50% clearing, which meets the Aqua Protection Overlay District restrictions. Pine Barrens is less restrictive. They allow up to 65% clearing, but in this case, they're just gonna stay at the 50% with the project.
Good.
But also, right now, there is a clearing restriction of 25% because this was a subdivision that was created in 1988 when we didn't have Aquifer Protection Overlay District standards yet. So the planning board at the time gave 25% as the clearing
So
restriction.
we have to amend the covenant?
You'd amend the covenant to go up to 50%, and that they've already still submitted for that too.
Is that a separate action? Do we need a hearing for that?
I
Claire?
think we'd recommend a
Yeah.
hearing anyways, and then do it, and then do it at the same time you do the decision for the site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was all in the pre-submission reports, it was outlined in that, and they've come up with a good project. I didn't identify anything significant in the part two, but if you wanna go over it.
Mm-hmm.
Claire, what are the blue lines on?
Those are buffer easements. There's 50 feet
Okay.
buffer on the front and 50 foot buffer in the rear, which is great. And so the parcel to the west, I think, is owned by the town of Southampton. CR 200.
Is this where Broidy's development was?
Broidy's on the other side of the
It's further
street.
The other
south on
side.
the east
Yeah.
side.
On the
Yeah.
other side,
Do you guys have to adjust the grading at all over there? 'Cause I thought it, doesn't it dip down?
Which is, right, so they,
yeah. Can you just identify yourself for the record?
Charlie Ferrari with Sunrise Beyond, this is my partner Sean with Sunrise Beyond.
Nice to meet you.
On the north side, you're actually at the top of a hill on the south side. And the property dips down tremendously towards that grassy area as you go north. You know, if you're traveling by car, you go up, you could feel it in your stomach. So there's a big drainage area there, which is why they want us to stay close to the Excelsior building,
Yeah.
right on the other side of that red line.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. The development will go in this flat area here, yeah. And then this would be just, remain naturally vegetated, but will succeed back into Pine Barrens hopefully, so. So I didn't identify any significant impact on land is impact from clearing and construction, appropriate drainage to be incorporated in the site plan design. No impacts on geological features, surface waters, impact on groundwater, an IA system will be required, and obviously there's APOD restrictions that are being complied with. No impacts on flooding, which is page 3.
Are there any plume monitors involved here?
Not on this property itself, as far as I could see. We will put language in there about that there was a plume in the area, and then this will be on a slab, right?
Yes.
So I think we should incorporate that somewhere in this.
Okay, I
plan.
There's a brand new water
I
main.
might
that they put in there.
have,
It
but
is,
just
because
one
it's
second, I
shown.
have to see my language. I
Yeah.
wrote this a couple weeks ago,
The
so.
buffer is across the entire thing.
All the
Except
all
for
the
this.
properties, all the buildings are off of well water now. They're on city water.
Yeah.
They put a brand new water main down. I want to say like 4 years ago.
Yeah, there's a sign in there. And there's a sign there, okay. got it.
Okay, so we can do that under groundwater, if that's what you want
I
to
think
do.
so. Mhm.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. So we're looking at the smaller, the first building, I guess?
Correct.
Is what we're talking about today. And then the area marked proposed outdoor storage, that's going to eventually become the larger building? Is that what?
So our plan, we own Sunrise Sanitation.
Right.
Right now, we're renting a 5,000 square foot building in Quogue.
Right.
We have a budget to build a 3,000 square foot for now to run our business.
Right.
At some point in the future, whether we do or not, maybe we'd like to build as big as a building as Excelsior for
Right.
rentals if, at some point.
Right.
Maybe
So-
not.
So that could one day become a building, or it could just stay storage,
Correct.
depending on how
Yeah.
you guys do whatever. Okay. And what do you store?
Well, we have about 22 trucks, some empty containers, which
Okay.
most likely we'll be renting from landlords across the street or our rental yard in Quogue to keep the containers.
Right, right. So
Um,
the storage is a combination of your trucks and your
Yeah.
your
Yeah, parking, we have
your dumpsters that
17
you
employees.
rent out.
Yeah.
Okay. But not storing any materials of any kind?
No,
No.
no.
And is the plan you're gonna do the full parking lot in the first phase, or is that gonna be phased as well?
I think we would, they wanted to see it. I think we would do it now, just to get it all done. Just depending on the cost. But if we get approved for it, we would go for a loan, obviously, from the bank and try and put it in if we can. Yeah. Because I think we have to put all the drainage in. I
drainage,
mean, we might as well.
And your trucks would be parked there, is that
Empty trucks, yeah.
the idea?
Mhm.
Would you guys have roll-offs on site as well?
Roll-off trucks?
Yeah, like the actual.
Our whole, it's our headquarters, our office,
Right.
our garage. where, you know, our whole headquarters is there, so all the guys' personal vehicles, when they come in, park there.
Okay. But I guess my question would be, will you be cleaning out any, like,
No
dumpsters and all
sorting,
that?
No.
just parking
Yeah.
and
Okay.
garage and office, no type of sorting.
We don't do that now, we're not allowed to do that. Yeah.
We've done this before at a couple sites, for Norsec on County 39, and then for S&P, I think, on Hampton Bays. So they would just have conditions that would be very clear, that this would be no sorting, this would be just for clean, you know, roll-off truck containers and things like that, yeah, okay. Do you want that anywhere here in the secret documents too, about the use?
Where do you think the right,
You do that under community character, which would be 18.
or noise, odor, light? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna be stockpiling any waste or debris on that site?
Say that again?
Are you gonna be stockpiling any waste or debris on that site?
No.
When you pull a dumpster,
The trucks get emptied the same day,
Yeah, oh.
multiple times throughout the day.
okay, so it's not like you pull in, stays there for a few days?
No.
No, everything goes to Gap Bank every day.
Okay, gotcha.
I would say on the impact on noise, odor, and light.
that's what I thought was logical,
Okay, we'll put in both places,
yeah.
yeah. Anything else? Do you want me to go over the rest of them?
Let's see, you find critical environmental areas, okay, let's look at that one.
That is number 12, yes, and that's the project to comply with APOD and Central Pine
Central
Barrens
Pine
Compatible
Barrens
Growth
Growth.
Area regulations of 50%.
A 50% clearing. Right? You need the word clearing there.
Yep,
Otherwise, it's 50% of nothing.
exactly. And then transportation, so I got this from the one we just did, which is Delandro, you deemed it complete, and then you had some concerns about the Speonk Riverhead Road intersection.
We sent a referral over to county, didn't we?
We sent to the county does not have jurisdiction over Old Country Road. I did find that after the fact.
Yeah, there was the intersection. One was county, one was town.
No, the county jurisdiction ends to the west of here
Yeah.
on Old Country Road. So I found that out after, but it did go to the town of Southampton and the town engineer and highway department.
Okay, good.
So, yes, and you know what I did, as an aside, is I asked code enforcement to issue a violation on his hedges because he doesn't meet corner clearance. So that might hopefully
yeah.
have a beneficial impact once he
Yeah.
fixes his hedges.
Yeah.
So I did that. Hopefully
You guys
that
may
helps.
already know, making a left at that
Yeah, it's
intersection.
a disaster.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah.
So I still have that same language though, because it's
Okay.
relevant for this project too, I think. So, that was that. Impact on energy, no. Impact on noise, odor, and light, I'll have the comments about it being clean containers. Impact on human health, I'm gonna mention again the contamination. And then,
Yeah, so that would be C, 16C,
mm-hmm,
and then maybe other impacts. just
Right.
Notating the public water hookup. Do they have to have any kind of vapor barrier to, have their office and operational in there or not?
no, because they don't have occupable space in the basement. That would be where you
Okay.
have a basement.
Because it's just a slab.
This is a slab, and this is what I've seen commercial projects in similar areas do. So
Great.
it's how it meets the criteria. And then consistency with community plans and consistency with community character, and that's where I'm just gonna talk about the use a little bit, making sure we have some conditions related to it.
Okay.
So I'm recommending a negative declaration, we'd assume lead agency, negative declaration, and then deem it application completes. So I do have one application, one resolution for the neg deck, and then maybe do a second one for the deeming complete.
Okay.
Okay, I'll
That's
move
good
neck
with you.
deck.
So motion to, for negative declaration by Dennis, second
Second.
by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. And
And
the
then
second is
completes.
for completeness.
How are we doing January 15th
Public hearing.
for next year, 2024?
Piling up?
Yeah.
I don't think we've scheduled anything yet. have we?
Oh, nothing?
Okay, so we might have to go to the 27th if we get tonight, right? So we'll start with this one on the 13th of January for completeness.
The hearing?
Public
Public
hearing.
hearing, yep.
Okay, so motion to deem it complete with a
Motion.
public hearing, motion by Kate,
Second.
second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. So it'll be what, Kristen? January
January 13th.
13th.
Oh, what am I doing?
We're coming in on Saturday.
January 11th.
Thank you.
11th? You're looking at a 23 calendar? Okay.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
square boxes.
Good job.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
See you guys.
You think
Thank
someone will
you.
open one?
Thank you.
Oh, God. Wheel us
Okay,
out of here.
11th.
We're not coming in on the 13th.
Okay, so, I'm gonna do Elliston, which is, what number is that?
Number 7, Lester Elliston. Someone here for that?
Yes.
Did you want to do the land room?
Oh, Wayne came?
No one's here. Oh, he just came. Well,
He can wait?
he can wait.
He's gotta get back to a child.
Oh, okay.
This
That's
time.
important.
This is actually pretty easy. We went over this, and really the only issue, for this was, keep one,
Okay.
sorry.
Well, send them on down.
Okay.
Only, yeah, we went over this maybe October 26th meeting, but she couldn't attend. And really the outstanding issue was,
Give us a little to
you know
catch
what?
up here. Do we have an aerial?
The meeting was the 12th, I
Three
believe.
lots.
was it the 12th?
Yeah.
This is the one next to the cemetery.
This is the one
Yeah.
next to the cemetery, and I apologize, my copies now have blocked out all the issues.
Well, we
can
found
read
the
it.
fire hydrant.
We did
There
find
was
the
a-
fire
Found the fire
hydrant.
We found the
hydrant.
fire
I
hydrant.
did.
We can still read it.
Conservation Board comments.
Yes, it really has to boil down now, the Conservation Board comments. Their comments were that
Well,
the
except for this part, yeah.
number 2 and number 3, and I'll get you a map.
Again, it's cutting down vegetation.
Right, exactly, and so, that was, the board had discussed that, so they wanted to bring it back to the applicants, whether they could do that. So this is the subdivision. 3-lot subdivisions, an existing house, but not in a great condition, in the front. And conservation has asked for clean restrictions of 50% on the
Mhm.
second and third lots specifically, not the entire subdivision. So she's taking that back to her clients and wants to discuss that with you.
Can I have your name for the
Sure.
record?
Jameson McWilliams from Crouch McWilliams Law Group at 10 Pantago in East Hampton. Here on behalf of the applicants, Lester Elliston, and his daughter, now Rebecca Gorin, because Lester unfortunately passed away.
He passed away,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I did get Claire's report. The clients are not thrilled about the suggestion of the 50% because it's not in any, protection overlay districts. There is no clearing restrictions at this time, and although it's helpful in one sense that there's no restrictions on lot 1, all of the lots are vegetated, so I'm not entirely sure what the nexus is or the requirement on just lots 2 and 3 and not lot 1. But I was more here to, hear the board's position if that was well, the board was going to accept the 50%. I was going to ask that you hold off on accepting the report, and I'm going to talk to the clients again.
Please, yeah. I mean, you see the rationale that the Conservation Board provides.
I do.
Yeah.
But is that vegetation exists on lot 1 also, or no? I thought
So
yes.
that's been cleared for the house, I mean,
Do you have an aerial?
yeah.
Yep, I have the aerial. Lights up, see if you can see it. So, it's pretty vegetated,
Very
the whole
heavily
thing.
vegetated.
The value of this vegetation in the front, though, it's very overgrown, weedy vegetation up.
Where the house is.
Yeah, with the house
Yeah.
is.
And it backs up to a trail, doesn't it? The lot 3, isn't that a trail? If I remember right?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, that looks like a trail to me, yeah.
Where,
The blue overlay
blue
is
is
a
the-
trail?
These are easements, and then
Trail
the,
easements?
just the, by looking at that, you can see that it's a trail.
Well, if you would discuss it with your client, I mean,
Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't know the sort of proper protocol here. Could I pull the board? Like, is it 50% that's
No.
everyone's position?
I don't think you should poll the board. No,
To
That's
know.
not your job.
It's a recommendation from the
Yeah.
Conservation Board.
Okay, so I just wasn't clear based on the report that the board was going to accept that recommendation or not. I did speak to them. They don't want to do the 50%. They were more comfortable with 20%.
No.
But I don't know how it goes from here. They can't be here today. They
Mhm.
actually live in Israel, so the communication has been difficult also.
I'm gonna
Right.
steal a phrase from board member Fulham.
Sure.
The clearing has become death by 1,000 cuts,
Yeah.
and we're
I don't
trying
think
and
I
pushing.
coined
for-
that.
Well, that's really,
I'm gonna write that down now.
okay, strike that from the record.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's what we're trying to push against, we're trying to maximize, or minimize clearing as much as we possibly can now. I think it's gonna be an ask
Yeah.
going
I-
forward quite a bit.
50% to them seems punitive because it's, they would yield 1 acre lot, so
We don't have, where's the,
Is
this
it
is-
consi-
do you have this up on the board, the subdivision?
No, I can give you plans, I have a couple of
So
copies.
just hold it, hold it up.
So the size, the 50% is coming from aquifer protection. If those lots were that size, they would have that
Mhm,
restriction.
mhm,
So I
yeah.
think that's where they're coming
That's where
from.
they're coming from.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
But it's not an APOD.
it is not.
Okay.
So it's a request, and also you're in an archaeologically sensitive area, so you have to do a archaeological review, 1A and B.
Yep.
There is a hydrant on the
There is a
corner,
hydrant.
everybody went and checked,
Yes.
so,
And in discussing it with your client, you may want to point out they may not be aware that this does back up to a trail. So that's another aspect of this, is we have the trails, they're supposed to be for walking and enjoying, the scenery around you, so that's something else they may want to keep in mind.
can I ask, when you do like a 50% limitation like that, is it just like how the clearing would be, like it's just overall, or are you doing like a buffer or an easement surrounding, like would it necessarily be on that back property line?
Well,
I want to sell it to them. They want this,
Yeah.
but they're,
Well, you'd
Well,
want
you have a
to
lot of
maintain
foliage.
vegetated buffers anyway.
mhm.
And when you run the numbers, it's just
about
probably
overall.
work out in just a slightly larger buffers.
Right.
Because you want to have the center portion for the house, pool, tennis, whatever. Anyway, you can't really do much on the property lines, so.
If it's just clearing as opposed to the buffers, it's not gonna be, they're gonna leave it up to your client.
right, it
Yeah.
won't be designated.
Yeah.
It
Wherever they're
looks like
comfortable.
the center of the property is the heavily treed, with some old trees there.
Right.
Claire, would it be possible or reasonable to perhaps provide your client with, here's some other properties that are 1 acre that are 50% clearing, so they could see what that kind of translates into?
Well, the whole APOD is,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Is there anything north?
you have hundreds of house lots with this.
no,
of
I
this size
understand
with
that,
this
yeah.
restriction.
I was just curious, because you were discussing how it would, be adjacent or directly adjacent to the trail, if you were gonna require it on that back property
I don't
line
know
to
if the
maintain.
trail, I mean, it's there, but does it connect, do we have something for the Trails Advisory Board? Seems like it's just runs along the back of that property.
Trails came,
Because it might, at one time, it might have been used years ago, but now,
they said there's no trail applications.
no trail. So it's just something that, at one time, people traverse on that area.
I remember we talked about it the first time we looked at this.
Oh, did we? Well, I wasn't
But
here.
I don't know
Yeah,
what was the finish.
but I don't know, typically, we grab the trails when there is the potential to link up to other areas.
So this trail, though, I don't know.
That might be, I think you might be right, that might be a common driveway easement. See the house that's otherwise landlocked there to the south of, that one? It extends from there to the road to the north,
Oh,
which
you-
is not Norris, which is, I forget the name.
Yeah.
Well, if a recorded
So you
easement, it
think it's a
doesn't
paper
show up on your,
easement of some
Maybe,
kind?
or a shared driveway easement, access
it would
easement?
show up on your survey if that were the case. It's not
It
on your
doesn't show
survey.
on your.
Well, it doesn't burden my lot.
Yeah,
My applicant's lot line is the red, and I think that this runs south of it.
Yeah.
I mean, east and north-south, east of that.
Could be an
Maybe.
easement too, yeah.
just a
I
quick,
don't know, we didn't,
double check it. So Trails Advisory has not,
They said by memo, September 14th, stated there's no trail implications with this project.
okay,
So it is not a
Okay.
trail.
There's not,
Okay.
that's not
Okay.
gonna impact you.
So
Or they
maybe you
get the
can
parking.
discuss it with your applicants.
yes,
Give them some rationale.
I will. Okay.
Okay, so
Great.
do you want to just table this until she comes back?
Yep.
Are we
Okay.
enacted
do that.
deadline?
It is, however, it's their report, so if they want to,
We
wanna
want that
extra-
for 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, can we do 2 weeks?
well,
Just 'cause-
2 weeks would be
Well,
Thanksgiving.
next
Yeah.
week is a
2 weeks will be
meeting.
Thanksgiving.
You won't be here?
I'll come. Anything to get away from my family all year.
It's a nice table.
I- Maybe.
So does that take it to December?
We have
Got it.
December 14th.
Boy, that is
Oh,
a
my.
loaded day.
Well, okay.
Or January.
Or
next
this,
week.
I know, I
No, that's
have a
a
doctor's
crunch of
appointment.
time.
It's not that, it's I have a doctor's appointment at 2:15.
Yeah. No,
It's a postpartum
You know,
thing.
we
It's
could
like, I don't
adopt
think
the
I should miss
report.
that.
It's just a report,
We could adopt the report,
With-
and the
with
planning
this
board's recommending.
recommendation.
Is the
And
reg-
then if there's a big issue with your client, then we would have to come back and revisit
And
it.
you can always amend it.
But we're granting final conditional approval.
No, you're not. We're granting
Oh,
a
that's not
pre-app
this,
report.
sorry.
Pre-app
That's
report.
That's just-
pre-app. So you could always come back and amend it. Now, obviously, we have a record where
Yeah.
there was it was a discussion of the planning board's open to something that achieves their goals.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it is part of the record. It's
So
Conservation
you've got
Board
that in here,
recommendation.
right? Conservation Board comments?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to make number 2 on recommendation, planning board recommends that the applicant provide a covenant for 50%
50%
clearing on lots
clearing.
number 2 and 3. And then,
Mm-hmm.
with, even say something with the applicant can come back and discuss with the planning board further.
Okay.
And also in that language, but consistent with the standards of the APOD, so we're not,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a reason.
Oh, the other reason is number 5, which it is north and Long-Legged Bat also area, so,
Oh,
so
God.
that is another.
I know, I saw that.
So,
Yeah.
Claire,
Okay.
on the, since we're discussing it, on the
Yeah.
digital version of the report that you sent me, number 3, lot area on flag lots are less than 1 1/2 times lot area of the planning board, and that doesn't say anything else.
no, it doesn't.
Is it supposed to? I'm fine with
It
it.
is, and
Okay.
I left it up. But the planning board discussed that, and they were fine with the
The lot area.
lot area not having 1.5 times.
Right, okay, just wanted to make sure, since we were all here, okay.
Great. No, good to check.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hi.
again.
So when do we schedule?
No,
so
we're
not
gonna adopt
No, we're just
Okay,
gonna adopt
We're just adopted. So a motion to adopt the report is amended.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by
Second.
Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, Teresa's sitting
Do
here.
you want to, you want to go for Delandra? Sure. Okay. Back to number 4?
Okay, you're running the agenda now, right?
Well, do you want to go
No,
back?
it's okay.
It's
Claire.
up to you. I'm asking him.
We've already asked him.
We don't have to.
Let's do
We
it.
could do her. Do you want to do her?
Let's do it and then I'll call the agenda.
That's great.
What number? 4?
4.
You just stayed put, Wayne, this was all, not that hallway more than,
Meetings. Delandro, Jeffrey Delandro. 1323 Spionk Riverhead Road. Thank you. The secretary has requested that when I call the agenda, that I give the address of the application, because when she's listening to the minutes, to the report, and there's nothing there, it floats somewhere, so,
Especially when you're not in order.
I like it.
yeah.
I like your assertiveness. Thank you.
And it makes sense, makes good
And
sense.
for the public, they're watching
Absolutely.
it. They don't have our crib sheets.
wow. This is right by the sunrise. Walk, just walk on.
This is the site plan.
Yeah. Just a floor plan.
Creative, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is that nice finished place,
Yeah,
right?
this is the elevation.
The one near the, what's the place from Macy's?
You sure you get one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on that same stretch that the
Yeah.
Spionk Riverhead. Get Jackie.
Okay, Claire.
So this is just to review the staff report, and the deadline is next week. It's pretty straightforward. It is for the construction of a 10,000 square foot building in line with the design of the one to the north. It's a 1.6 acre parcel. It's not the protection overlay district. In this case also, there's a 25% clearing restriction pursuant to the covenants, and they've asked for an amendment to the covenants.
So same deal, we have to amend.
They have to amend the
Covenant.
covenant, yes. They've asked for that too, and that would be your action next week if you choose to go forward with it.
Claire, did you also send the Pine Barren Commission?
Yes, that
this
one's
same thing?
attached. It
Probably
is the last.
similar, right?
It is it's very similar in language, yes. So public comments, September 28th, no comments were received during the hearing,
Claire, could you
during the
please
10-day written comment
speak up,
period.
because I haven't read this, so I need to hear you.
Okay. I'm on page 2, and I'm talking about the public hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like to discuss the referrals?
Yeah, what are they, Claire?
Fire prevention, typical comments.
No.
Street numbers, drainage and dry well rings, supporting the heaviest apparatus of the Eastport Fire District, dumpsters to be enclosed, minimum 5 feet away from the buildings, key boxes, installation of fire hydrants, nearest fire hydrant is in excess for 1,000 feet. I don't know if that's true again. I don't think they have updated maps.
When did the public water go in, Craig?
I want to say 4 years ago, 5 years.
That was a while ago.
Is the hydrant indicated here?
When they put them, they usually have them every 1,000 feet.
We do have a layer
Doesn't
here.
indicate on here, Claire. It just says water, 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 a long span for Red Road.
Usually every 1,000 feet they have a hydrant. Are they recommending additional
She's got
hydrants?
an overlay.
Yeah, they're recommending, one because it's more than 1,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we go, water infrastructure. Doesn't look like this one. Oh,
There's one.
yeah, it's down by Broidy's sites, so
Oh, that's why it's far away.
it's pretty far away.
That might be more than 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying in
Probably.
the report.
Yeah.
is
That's
It
why
is more
they're-
than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's 1,000 feet away, so they're requiring the installation
Oh, okay.
of a new fire hydrant.
So they'll have to address that, the applicant will have to
But
address
that's
that.
relatively simple, right? When there's public water, they have to just put in a hydrant and run a line in.
I'm not quite sure. I'm sure there'll be some costs available associated with it.
But they don't have to run a water line.
No,
No.
no, they just have to
Just
tap
tap
in.
into it, yeah. Okay, we want to go through the special exception standards, Claire?
Sure, did you want to talk about the other referrals?
What have we got in the back?
Town engineer has a number of comments. Have you addressed any of these today? This is your first time seeing them.
I noticed that what you attached was the preliminary, which we got for the submission, so I'm not sure he is giving you a report on the final.
No, that's what he gave me, is that one. I'm sorry, Wayne, just go to the, sure. So I was gonna ask the board, the town engineer's been a little slow on responding to, updated plans. Do you wanna leave these as conditions? They'll have to address them before signature, if that's acceptable to you.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, the report that you have in here was September 1st. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I don't know if he's done the final review. I'll
No,
ask.
he wants that information before he can, recommend approval. And so,
So what does he need now?
Well, the report just says it's a preliminary checklist, so it's odd. But I'll have our client is the engineer. He'll reach out to Tom Houghton and find out what
Okay.
he needs. So.
Yep, that would be great. And it'll have to be done. The board's saying they could do it before signature, if you're acceptable with that.
I mean, the two things that he asked there are just the date of the last survey and the, whether the roof drains are piped directly to the drainage system, which, they'll have to point that out, so.
Yeah, he's got some things about the ADA ramp permits, location and things like that on the second page. So,
I didn't get a second page,
The back of the first, you didn't get it?
no.
Blank.
oh. I thought I emailed you, the
Yeah.
referrals, right?
There was only one page, so if it was.
Oh, no,
That's 'cause
yeah,
it's two
there was a
sided.
second page.
Yeah, I didn't get
Yeah,
that.
okay, you can have this one.
If I can get a copy of that.
Yeah. So, and then the fire commissioners didn't have any, issues.
Wayne, take this.
Suffolk County Planning Commission, local determination, the ARB approved it, and then of course, the Pine Barren comments in the back. So special exception, criteria, I didn't, did you wanna talk about the Pine Barrens or the
Yeah,
hazardous
just
waste?
reading them, yeah.
Pine Barrens is 49.9% clearing, where 50% is permitted. Obviously, the covenant will be amended. And that was on the bottom of page 2.
Yeah, the Pine Barrens regulation is actually 65% for industrial, and the town is 50% more restrictive, so.
The town is more restrictive, yeah.
Right. But this was also a covenant and a minor subdivision done in that period between 84 and 89 that imposed a more restrictive, which the code allows you to amend to be consistent now with the code requirements, which is 50%. So otherwise, we meet all the compatible growth area requirements of the town code, which is what the Pine Barrens is asking you to make sure that this project is complying with.
So you want to do special exceptions, Claire?
Yes, yes, so I've identified no issues, it's compliant with them all. It's obviously a vacant piece of property, so the access is correct. They're allowed up to 7 uses, they're providing 5. The only really specific standard is about the parking, and that is also compliant, is generating 30 spaces, but I think they're proposing 43 on the property, so it's gonna be an IA system. And they're not proposing any outdoor storage at this time.
Thank you, Janice.
And there's no specific requirements. There's 2, as you mentioned, there's the 2 50-foot scenic buffers, and that provides a nice buffer for the property to meet those standards. So, again, site plan standards are met. I have included on page 7, going to 8, the standard language with the energy conservation. So I've identified no issues with this. I'll do a resolution for the next meeting with some conditions.
Are we asking for any sustainability issues, any solar or anything like that? Are we including that?
That was the energy conservation comments. It's the typical language that we've been working on, and every time we have a site plan, we add some more language to it.
The glory
Right, I see it.
Yep,
Where
so
is number N?
On page
the one
7.
thing,
N on page 7.
yeah, the one thing I would say is, you know, you do ask for, have been asking for,
Electric
the charging
charging
stations.
station.
So 1 per 20 spaces. In this case, it would be 2, if they do that.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a condition of approval to show that.
Okay, you've got that in there. Good,
Yep.
good.
Just a sidebar for a second. I just recently found out that the electric car charging stations are not universal.
No, they're not.
No,
Tesla had
the
its
Times
own.
had a whole big
Yeah.
spiel about it. I wish I'd saved that.
Yeah.
And I thought
Tesla said they were going to become universal. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true. 'Cause they
Yes.
were the oddball.
It's, Tesla's gonna be the kind of
Not-
charging station.
Are you saying Elon's an oddball?
And cars that don't have Tesla will have adaptations starting next
An
year.
adapter, yeah.
Okay.
So which ones come standard for every other car other than Tesla? Is that all right?
No, most other manufacturers now are adopting Tesla's
They're adopting
NECS,
Tesla.
NECS charging port.
Because
That's from
Tesla's done a much better
2025,
job
they're gonna
with
be,
infrastructure in the
adopting
United
that.
States,
Yeah.
so it makes sense.
Yeah.
So any other questions for Claire? So I guess it's good, we can adopt it next week.
Yes, we would adopt the decision and the covenant amendment. You're welcome.
Okay. Let's go to Teresa. You have Michael Minkoff. Bless you, Dennis.
Thank you.
There was no motion? There was no motion?
There was no motion. We did not,
didn't do a motion.
did we?
No, because just a draft. Yeah,
Okay.
just a
So,
draft.
make off
Yeah,
item
There's
6.
no action.
Michael needs pre-submission
Just
site
the,
plan
I'll pass it
application.
around.
Oh, I need to pass
We can show.
Got a couple to share. These are to share.
Hi, look, I'm prepared today. So the,
So let me just give the address.
Yes.
Michael Minkoff, 297 County Road 39.
the property is, the applicant is looking to convert the existing 7,500 square foot auto garage, repair shop into a special trade contractor, and to construct 29 parking stalls inclusive of 6 which were housed inside the building. as well as a new fence. Secra is an unlisted action.
So,
And-
Teresa, can you put up the,
Yes, oh,
please,
sorry.
so that the irregular shape of this is apparent?
Yes.
So this is
What
right
building
next
is
to,
this?
this is right next to the North Sixth.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is an
The address is
existing
County Road
garage.
39,
Yeah,
but where do
I
I
know.
see
Used to be
County Road
suburban auto
39 on this
repair.
map?
It's
So,
suburban auto.
as I said, this building is currently an repair garage, and there are 6 bays.
Oh,
So they're intending to convert this into a special trade contractor, potentially with indoor warehousing for the contractor, and 6 indoor parking spaces, which would be allowed because they're not stacking the parking because they do have 6 bays. A pre-submission conference was held October 12th. And again, SECR will need to be completed before deeming the site plan complete. Certificate of compliance was issued for the repair shop, and again, special trade contractor. Prior to, or when they submit the formal site plan application, they'll need to note how much of the building will be used for indoor storage and warehousing, because that may change their parking calculations.
Nothing we can do there.
There is a concern with respect to access for the property. The plan currently calls for, existing right here is about 13 feet, where access should be 15 feet for safety purposes. So the report is recommending that they speak to the fire marshal or try and seek an easement for the neighbor in order to provide sufficient access to the rear of the parcel where all the parking will be occurring.
Especially if they're gonna have, this is special trade contractors, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
they're
gonna bring
big
truck,
trucks.
it's one thing, this is a repair shop with automobiles,
Mhm.
but now they're proposing to intensify the use of truck traffic back there. I don't see how this works.
That's what we
That's
talked
probably, that's a major issue, right?
Yeah.
That's why they need to speak to the fire marshal, or if they can get an easement and that they have sufficient access, that can be done. If they can't get the easement or they can't get sufficient access, then
It doesn't
site
meet
plan
special
approval may
exception.
not be, special exception standards may not be.
Yeah, because they have to, I mean, of the 13 general standards, as you know, one of the first few is property is suitable, for this use.
To be used.
This
Correct.
came up years ago when we had a landscape, you were probably here, in
Mhm.
Hampton Bays. It was like long, thin, skinny piece, and they wanted to put a landscaping contract, and we just looked at it and said,
Can't do it,
Right.
doesn't work. I
So,
mean, they could modify the building, they could,
Take a piece
but
off.
that's all, they don't wanna do anything to the building.
No, they want to keep the building as is, and if they can get an easement from the neighbor, they may be
Yeah.
able to provide sufficient access. I mean, it's about 2.5 feet, so it's really not that much. But again, it is an issue, it is a major issue, which could prevent approval of this project if you don't have safe access.
And what about circulation in the rear?
Um,
So that's also an issue.
Well, that is also an issue. If you'll go on to the next one, it does say that the parking plan needs to be revised to provide ADA compliant parking stalls and to demonstrate sufficient area for truck circulation. Also, truck loading, depending on the type of contractor, should be provided, right?
Right.
The parking standards do require truck loading, and for a special trade contractor,
Yeah.
that should be shown, and that's not currently shown. So that's another hurdle that needs to be reviewed and
What's-
considered as part of the project. However, if portions of the existing structure are going to be used for warehousing, that is a lower parking standard, so that may give them some more flexibility on designing their parking, aside from the access issue,
Teresa, what is the neighbor next door that they might have to get a
Norsec.
This is
Norsec
Norsec.
is on the other side.
No, Norsec is next door.
Yeah, Norsec is on the western
Yeah.
side.
This
And
is
now
the
it's
new
all-
building
New
here.
building for
It's
Norsec?
now no longer Norsec, it's Winters, right? They sold.
No, it's Norsec now. I believe it's the car museum?
Yeah, it's Norsec. They're storing their porta potties in there.
Oh.
Okay.
And what's to the east? What's
To
that
the east?
odd piece? Yeah.
I thought Norsec had sold.
It looks like it is a house,
Yeah.
A residence.
a residence, correct.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like there's several residences over here,
Mhm.
actually. The next item on the report is garbage. Site plan that they provided did not provide any dumpsters or, garbage receptacles. A landscape plan will also be needed as part of the formal site plan application. If you drive by here, you can see it's quite a lot of asphalt along the front with no screening of the existing building. A landscape plan should probably provide some screening there. Let me just see what I can do.
Yeah, right now it's one big open
Yeah,
square.
it's just open.
So as you can see, it's very open. There's no screening, there's no softening of the building. It's a very square building, so the landscape plan should provide something here along the road for screening to soften that appearance. Because the site is currently used as an auto repair shop, consideration, which I've highlighted here, consideration of an environmental assessment should be done and undertaken. You should consider whether or not you want that undertaken to see if there are any oil leaks, oil spills that need to be remediated as part of the project. The sustainability issues with respect to green design elements, rooftop solar, electric charging stations should also be incorporated during the final formal site plan process. And then because the use is changing, they should reach out to the health department to see if it does require a change in their septic system design flows and possibly an upgrade of their septic system.
Good, very thorough. Any other questions?
Yeah, if I can
Thea?
just go back to the choke point issue for a minute there. I think that the choke point, of course, is in the front corner of the building. I think it extends all the way down the length of the building. Now, the survey doesn't show how much distance there is from the back end of the building to the property line. I'm guessing that to be maybe 20 feet. So the
Yeah,
whole
the back of-
distance, if there was an easement, I think it would have to be the whole length of
Yeah.
the building
Yeah.
to accommodate, because there's now gonna be two-way traffic. Again, if it was an auto repair shop, the mechanics that are fixing the cars are driving in and driving out. Now you've got a bunch of different people driving in and out that whole length of that building,
Right, with much larger vehicles.
much larger vehicles.
Are those trees planted? I mean, the aerial, that's an old aerial. Did Norsec plant those trees yet?
I
No?
don't think so.
Hmm.
I can actually look that up. Hold on 1 second.
That is not the same.
Wow. It's a heavy use.
That's not our plan.
Oh, yes, what happened here?
Nope.
All right, fine, we'll just go with the airport.
Can we let Carl just jump
Yeah,
in?
I'll just pull up
Carl?
that information.
Good morning, members of the board. Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway for the applicant. First, I would just note in the project description, if we could note that warehouse use. The application did not note it. I noted it at the hearing, and Teresa certainly discussed it today, so I'd like that just to be added in the project description.
To warehouse and special trade contractor?
Yes. Or
Well,
special,
Is it
One or the other, right?
is it indoor storage for the special trade contractor, or is it a separate warehouse
it's a
use?
separate warehouse use.
I
We
believe
talked
that
about it
would
at
be
the
a
hearing.
problem with respect to number of uses allowed on the property.
No, it's compliant, and it's a less intense use.
To be
It's
a
with respect to
warehouse.
parking and those elements, yeah. If you want to investigate that before you commit to updating it, that's our request.
I will, well, this is just a review of the draft report. We'll adopt it next week. I can look into that. And I'll speak to you afterwards, after I've
Okay.
done the
Right,
research.
but you made application for a warehouse.
The application was for a special trade contractor use. At the
Right, which is
hearing,
correct, yeah.
that's right. At the hearing, we mentioned we want to also consider part of the site plan to be a separate warehouse use. So, if you want us to submit an amended application, that was discussed at the hearing. I don't think we need another pre-submission hearing. I would just note that we change the pre-submission report to reflect a potential warehouse use as well.
But you see the issues here, Carl. The
The
access
the access,
is pretty
yes.
tricky,
Mhm.
you know.
As you know, these are existing site conditions, certainly not planned. I would just defer to the fire marshal as recommended in the report as far as safety with respect to access. I think that's the reasonable approach. 15 feet to address what Mr. Neely was saying, 15 feet in width occurs not, probably 10 feet into that choke point.
Right.
It would be compliant. If there is two-way traffic, certainly we can arrange for general accommodation of any incidental two-way traffic. I think the larger concern would be emergency vehicle access.
Just to go back, as of September 5th, they did install the trees along the property line.
They did.
Oh, yes, look, they did, yeah.
There they are.
September 5th, this near map stuff is great. It's every few months we get the updated
Look at
maps.
the foliage to the east.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord,
Yeah.
I haven't seen trees like that in a long time.
Carl, what are the possibilities of modifying the building? Like cutting a piece of it off?
I can't tell, I don't know how structurally that corner plays a role in.
That's a one-story building,
Yeah.
so it's not holding a lot of, that might be your only way.
Just slice that corner off. I think the easement's probably preferable, but
With all those
the trees are
trees.
there now.
Yeah, the trees are there.
How about the
Certainly,
other-
I think it's easier to move trees than a corner.
Yeah, but
I
you
don't know.
control,
Oddly
you control, your client controls the quarter.
The client controls the corner, yes.
Yeah.
And obviously,
This does operate as it operates with that existing
Yeah, but
lot
instead it said
coverage.
for cars.
For cars.
for cars,
Now we're contemplating
but
trucks,
tow
delivery.
trucks as well. These.
Yeah,
it's
tow
not-
trucks, which is, now we're contemplating intensifying to, well, you mentioned warehousing, which suggests trucks and deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
If we go forward with this use, we have to assume that it's going to entail
A tractor-trailer?
the typical vehicles associated with that use.
Yeah, and if the fire marshal were to determine that the proposed use and the intensity of it can be accommodated by the existing width of that access, I think the board, that
Well,
should weigh highly
the
with the.
fire marshal's going to say, it's been there, we have to deal with what's there.
That's right.
But now, you're asking this board to change the
Change the use.
intensify it, and contemplate a different type of traffic pattern. So that's why,
What is the basis for saying it's an intensified use between a special
because
trade
it's
and
going from
contractor?
automobile traffic, primarily automobile traffic, to special trade contractor suggests trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And warehousing absolutely suggests trucks, delivery trucks,
Yep.
whether it be tractor trailer, panel trucks. In other words, we can't put in a warehouse use to say, oh, but don't bring tractor trailers, don't bring box trucks in, don't bring large, we can't put those limitations on it. So if we go forward with that it's an intensification traffic-wise.
And traffic is gonna be more, because a car goes in when it's,
Yeah.
needs to be repaired. It goes in and then it comes out. I'm assuming this is gonna be more in and out, which suggests to me that you have to have two-way traffic. Otherwise, you need a cop there to make sure that when someone has to get out, they can get, it's,
Or at
Well,
least
there are
prevent-
ways to mitigate the safety impacts with mirrors, and it operates two-way traffic now. So,
With cars.
yeah, with cars,
I wonder
yes.
if you could get some kind of access through the Norsec property, in the middle of the Norsec property. Do you have any-
Access off the Norsec property?
off of Sandy Hollow Road.
Like over here through
Like
this
there's
parking
access
area? This area here?
Well,
I mean, that's a possibility.
But you'd have to negotiate it with them, Carl.
And, the easements would have to be perpetual. That's the problem with the easement aspect.
and Norsec is coming in off of Sandy Hollow.
Yeah.
It's kind of triangle.
Yeah.
You get
Yes, it's
15
coming
feet.
off of Sandy Hollow. I think that
It's a one-story building.
access off of
It's
that
not the end
would
of the world. but they
That's
would
a lot.
create a
triangle
lot.
to get to your 15
That's
feet.
a
I
lot
would
of
be
access.
surprised if they would be
You're
willing to do
15
that.
foot anyway, So make this
They're gonna have
15
to.
foot.
On
That's
another
That's
note,
the
I
easiest-
just
Well,
confirmed
I
with
beat around the
Claire,
bush.
a
That's
second
actually-
use is
that's
not
the
going to
easiest
be
thing.
allowed because it's one use per 20,000 square feet. This is a 30,000 square foot
Okay,
one.
so they're limited to one use, right? So Carl, what's the structure of the building?
One
Cinder
story.
block?
The current building, yes, a cinder block, yeah.
Well,
You're not,
Dennis just took 3 feet off.
All All right,
I
well, let's
mean,
get the bulldozer and
Do
go.
they want, do
One
they
wall.
want to
The
do
wet
that,
saw,
or
you know.
It's a tricky
Concrete
thing.
cutters and
Well,
set it up.
if there's only one use, I don't.
Then it's either warehouse
Don't we have to?
or-
Where either
The
one.
applicant has to make a decision as to what they want.
I do realize that I forgot
50
to
foot is
add that,
kind of the standard with the
whether or not
fire
you want a traffic impact
mark.
study on this parcel.
Yeah.
8 feet
Anything
long.
off,
I don't know how wide it is.
So I will
Large
add that
traffic.
prior to
Two-way.
next week's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
12
we
traffic.
didn't, we put Norsec off of Sandy Hollow, because that's
Because
such a
of-
problematic
That's how-
spot.
particularly because it goes right into the feed into Sandy Hollow.
You know, and regardless of
Do we set
what
up-
intensification of use or
Yeah.
less
we
intense
set up
use, it
cross-access?
still has to comply with present
thought we
day
did something
code.
with Norsec Cross, that's why we
Or
did that whole
seek a
thing.
Teresa,
Well,
did we-
just-
did we
just
set up cross-access
uh,
with Norsec?
The
A
use
fire
change.
marshal.
I don't know, I can
approval,
look that
yes.
into.
You're absolutely
them.
right.
I
So
can
maybe
bring that back
cross-access,
next week.
yeah. Maybe cross-access
You get
when we
access.
did Norsec.
We may have done.
You want cross-access from the
Sandy
north?
From your
Hollow.
site into Norsec, but I don't know if we
I
ever
mean,
set
they
that
could
up.
get in and out, no?
My gut is that would be, I don't know that they would go for that. It would
Who,
be
your-
Well, it
pretty,
might be
Your
already,
applicant?
if
the
the-
Norsec would go for
No, but
that.
we
No,
may have.
we might have
Did
it in
we?
place.
I think we have
We had
it.
normally
We
We
have
have
Yes.
it, right?
Yeah, I think we have a general cross access.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You have for
through
that,
that road,
with relation to that site plan?
Yeah, that might be your.
through the new one.
Yeah, then
Might
that
be
would
right.
work.
Norsec.
We'll check it and then next week.
That wasn't looked at?
I didn't, I'm
I-
No.
Can't think of everything.
You could have looked at it.
I need to go off the board.
Then you could just screen the whole.
It
Yeah.
would
Well,
have
that's
eventually-
That's
it
a
would
good
have eventually
accusational
decided.
that I intended. So we can, yeah, if there is cross-access there, that solves all our problems.
Yeah.
You'd have to negotiate with them for.
No, no.
No, it's open
It's
they
already.
would have
recorded.
the access.
You'd open
They
it with
have
this,
Yeah.
with this application.
Sure.
It reduces the problem.
And more important, we might want to extend it.
Yeah, we'll-
It would eliminate the problem.
Well,
The access would be
we'd also want your client to extend it to the east.
to
and
provide
when those-
cross-access.
those
To
sites-
For the
to the
residential
residential
lots.
parcel?
Yeah.
Well, when
Well, it may
they're
change.
zoned highway business, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, they're
So
gonna
do a
come into highway
cross-access
business
somewhere
use.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
there,
easement somewhere.
okay, Carl, do we want to adopt this?
Yeah, get it.
No.
No, it's
Yeah.
going to be next week.
Okay.
This is
Next
just
week.
for discussion purposes,
Okay.
and then we'll bring it back with all those other issues outlined.
Okay, Carl?
So
No
we'll look at
action.
the cross-access, and that seems to solve all the issues I have. No, that does not solve all my issues.
Great.
That's a separate
Days
meeting,
young.
Carl.
Thank you. Anthony, you want to do Rothman?
Rothman, yes.
What happened to
No
Capital
action.
One? We're not going back to the beginning?
Oh, let me just get one.
This is item 8.
8, Rothman Dynasty, 27 Lower Seven Ponds Road, Watermill.
Yeah, the board will remember,
We've seen this 111 times.
it's 112 now, and unfortunately Daphne could not, she had an emergency, she couldn't be here today.
Okay.
Which she knows also, we're still waiting on the 292 from Conservation and the Highway Department regarding that access off of Seven Pond out.
Yep.
So we're gonna do an extension here until December 14th.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 7 in favor. Are you taking a look at December 14th? I mean, we could sink to the bottom of the ocean with everything that's on December 14th.
Yeah, I split my stuff up between the next two meetings.
You
and
did?
So, yeah, so we should,
It's freezing in here.
Now you're cold.
I wasn't hot.
I think, we have another
This
one.
happens every year.
10, I guess, is off the
It's
agenda.
about this time of year.
Is Crowley brief?
Crowley, Kevin Springer had to leave for an emergency, so his is also gonna be extended.
Extension?
That one is till December 14th, that's an easy one though, so.
Okay, so number 11, 7 Canal Street, Hampton Bays, extension to December 14th. A motion?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Dennis, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed,
Did-
abstentions?
Did we
7 in
pass a
favor.
resolution on
I
Rothman?
don't think you did.
You did, Rothman?
Did we do,
You put it
did we
over,
do
but I
that?
don't think you did a resolution.
Okay,
No.
so
I
number
thought we
8.
Yeah, we did.
Not
Yeah.
for
An
Rothman?
extension to
I think
December
we just said we
14th.
were moving
And
it.
then
Did we
you
do-
said it, but I didn't. extension.
Did we vote on
For
it?
Rothman, we did?
We
Okay.
did, okay.
Thank you.
And then that was for.
The other one was
That's
for
December 14th.
Crowley.
They're
Same
both
thing.
December 14th.
Okay, Claire, you want to come back with capital one?
Of course.
Capital one, address 95 East Montauk Highway.
So this was, it's gonna be the fourth bank, North Fork
Another
Bank,
bank?
Capital One,
Yeah.
and now Bank of America.
When everyone's going into online banking.
This building,
But
this
that's such a
building's been
beautiful
used,
building.
being
It is.
used. So
One of the
here's
nicer ones.
Yeah, so I have a resolution, I'll pass that out to you.
No, not Dennis, open the window. Do you want to
And,
close?
basically, they're doing a pretty basic sign with the goosenecks, Bank of America, white letters.
We need a few more of them.
I really encouraged them to do something that was very in keeping with the building itself. So they're doing the white letters with the goosenecks on the building. That sign will be a little bit more color to it, but it's not on the building itself. So those are the three renderings for the building, so, with,
Well, that's the building that's unused right now as a
Yeah.
bank, but it was a bank.
right,
It was
exactly.
a bank. It was another bank, too.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple.
Originally it was in Norfolk, but it was
So
Capital
the
One.
ARB indicated their approval for it. So I like the ones on the building. I think they're traditional. That's just a little bit more color to the monument sign. So you want to take a look at that.
And how is this lit? Is this backlit, Claire?
Nope.
Goose?
No, so there's lights on the top and it'll wash down.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right here?
I'm gonna specify the, in the resolution, I'm gonna specify the lighting on it, so.
Different from what
So the
Okay.
goosenecks and then the lighting and the wash down.
Okay.
So,
So what are we doing here? For the monument sign?
We don't have resolutions here. Claire, did you?
Draft in progress, Clay, what are we doing? Is this for the next week?
Draft in progress, one there. Wasn't there enough copies?
No? No.
Sorry.
And I have-
Oh,
Yeah,
they're right here. I don't know what happened to them. They didn't get to us.
Thank you.
So we're resolving that the monument sign is good, and what else, anything?
Yeah,
That's
the
all I-
wall and the monument signs are
That's it.
good, exterior lighting, goosenecks on the wall sign, and then the fine, exterior direct lighting on the monument sign. There's just some additional language I'll put on there.
Okay, but so that's, there, be it resolved, you have three things to resolve, right?
I
think I
didn't
don't
keep
have
myself
it.
a copy.
I don't,
There's no,
I have a copy of it.
we only have
You
page
can-
one. Is there a page two?
yeah, Claire, this
It's
is all
the-
screwed.
Can I be resolved?
You only have
Design
one
and-
thing. The monument sign shall indicate the street address.
That's-
Two,
that's the only-
gooseneck, that's all you put in. So
think
the
that's all
two
there
is
is.
gooseneck,
Maybe there is only
I didn't
one.
finish my idea.
see, it was a draft in thought.
Oh, draft in progress.
So my whereases are all good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 approves the monument signs acceptable, subject to the monument sign indicating the address.
Two wall signs, right?
Right, so that will be the result, that you approve the two wall signs and the monument sign, as shown in the plans that are detailed above by Strauss.
And the lighting?
In the lighting, I'd like to specify that the wall signs will be gooseneck.
Okay, so wall signs lit by gooseneck.
And this monument sign will be the exterior lighting.
And the monument sign. Well, that's the indirect.
Oh, actually, I take it back.
I thought you
What?
said there was no lighting on the monument sign.
Isn't it in the sign on the top?
It says
But
It's on the top.
fluorescent-
So I thought they were doing that, but no, it says non-illuminated.
Uh-huh.
So So
So-
maybe I'll have a condition that says this
Not-
sign
will be
non-illuminated, any
non-illuminated.
additional lighting will come back to the planning.
Right, okay. Okay. So we have the language, that's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth whereas. Then we have wall signs lit by gooseneck, monument sign not illuminated.
Mhm.
And the gooseneck, you wanna put the gooseneck
Mhm.
as a condition, as a resolved?
It's shown as a gooseneck on the plans, so that's what we are approving.
Okay,
This is
gooseneck is
Stratus
okay.
Yep.
Is everybody clear what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, they have a good rendering there of their
Yeah.
signage concept and lighting plan, right?
So this is what will be approved.
And they're the only tenant in there, right?
They will be the only tenant in
Yeah. All right, motion to approve the Capital One Bank, which is becoming
Bank of America.
Bank of America. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Tom,
Second?
second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7
This is what happens when you sit at the end.
in favor.
I raised my hand.
Now, let's see where we are. Done all that, we've done all the Butter Lane, okay, that 625 Butter Lane was adjourned by the applicant till next week?
December.
No, to December 12th?
14.
14.
There's no action, there's no deadline on
There's
covenant.
no deadlines, we don't have to do an action. They have submitted a request for the adjournments, obviously, but also they included a new alternative for the envelope. We emailed that to you, and I do
Right.
have additional copies for you.
Yeah.
Do you want me to refer that to the Egg Advisory Committee?
Aren't they doing it? I mean, I thought that,
You're
cover
the
us,
entity.
yes.
You're the entity that
Yes.
is making the decision, so I recommend that you
Yeah.
formally.
Yes.
that's a
do
good
that.
idea,
Mhm.
yeah.
I've read an awful lot of stuff.
Yep.
And if I could ask counsel, are we supposed to get a site plan?
I
Is that
can
an-
address that in the closed session for advice of counsel. but
Okay.
We're following the procedure we're following. And we're-
Thank you. Because I'm reading a lot.
So
and
this is
I
one
need
action,
help.
this is one application, there's no time mandate on.
No
No.
time mandate. So
No.
14th comes and Jackie feels the agenda's too full, it will not be
Yeah,
on.
it's
the
Yeah.
too
agenda.
heavy.
Yeah, I know it's heavy.
So-
I
And we
can
don't
tell.
have to take an action today, we don't have to extend.
You don't
No,
have to
so we
send-
don't have, to just announce that it was adjourned.
Yes.
Okay, 625 Butter Lane has been adjourned. Okay. Teresa, you want to come back up?
Are we on 12?
Number 12, Koroski subdivision, 20 Central Avenue, East Quogue.
Here's some maps for you.
Thank
We're
gonna be sharing.
No.
Okay, so the parcel is 20 Center Avenue in East Quogue. They are looking to subdivide the existing parcel into 2 lots, one with the existing home, and then this rear lot. As you can see, there are various accessory structures which will not meet the required setbacks, so those will need to be addressed. But what we're doing at this moment in time is deeming the pre-application complete, and then scheduling a public hearing, which is, I have tentatively checked with Kristen, and it's January 11th. January 11th is the recommended public hearing for the pre-app on the application.
Is, just as a question, it's R20 zoning, are they functioning as a commercial?
No, I believe it's actually a residential garage. I drove by there the other day, and it looked kind of like a house with a lot of stuff, but it's
Well,
hard. it's
Lots
hard.
of cars, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so we're deeming it complete and setting a public hearing for January 11th, 2014. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Gloria and second by Dennis, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
Dennis,
Yeah.
close that window.
Anthony, you've got 90
Yeah,
North
it's-
Sea, Mecox.
The bottom.
You want it all the way down?
Maybe leave it like that, see how that works. Yeah, just,
90 North Sea, Mecox Road, North Sea.
yeah. Even my chair is icy.
The board might recall, this was started some time ago with Jackie when she was here. North Sea, Mecox Road, I can zoom out here a little bit. This is a vacant piece of property. It is in the, let's see where I am here. It's in the R20 zoning district. This is the application from the Southampton Housing Authority for an affordable housing development on this property. I don't know if the board remembers. It seems to be, if I remember, there's some type of junkyard or something over here, but this is the property that the board had previously seen, an application, and I had worked with the applicant to, really was to get to a yield map. We knew exactly, how many lots. It's a rectangular piece of property. It's not, a lot of layout options at this point, but the first map was to establish what the yield would be. And here we're looking at 5 lots, okay? Now, that was, this yield map I was okay with. I was waiting to make sure we had the proper yield map. So I could see we could proceed with 5. Then what they're also providing is an alternative plan. Even though this is all affordable housing proposal, you still get the 10% density of the Long Island workforce housing. So if you have a yield of 5,
Get a half.
you could get another 6. And so they provided a 6-lot plan. Same type of layout, but just with 1 extra lot, and they're showing all flag strips here. That could probably be an issue ultimately.
Shouldn't it just be shared, access, but shared?
Yeah, it ultimately would be a shared or one, but they're just showing flag lots for each of the lots. That's a comment we could address in a application report.
There's public water there, right?
What's that?
There's public water there, right?
Yeah, there's public water. So at this point, we're finally, it's been a year, but I'd like to help them out a little bit, deem this application complete finally. I think we have 3 hearings on for the 14th, and I was out for December 14th. You don't want to do December 14th? Okay. So January 11th would be the hearing. You okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So January 11th?
Better.
Is there a single-family ownership models?
These would be single family.
Ownership,
Ownership, yeah.
covenant?
They would be restricted. And well, it's the housing authority doing it anyway, so
Yeah.
their purpose is to provide affordable.
What's the size of the lots?
On the 6-lot plan, they're, 21 to 23,000,
Okay,
about
so
half
there's
acre.
still.
Nice size
in the-
lots.
Yeah, in the R20 zone.
Yeah.
That's-
And is Sandy Hollow the next road to the east, to the west? Or,
To the east.
I think it's North
Where
Sea
is
that?
Road.
That's
Major's
Major's
Path,
Path.
Major's
Sorry.
Path,
Major's
excuse me.
Path, I'm sorry.
But
Yeah, it's between Major's Path and Sandy Hollow.
Yes.
Anthony, what are the blue overlay lines?
These blue lines?
Or, oh,
No,
that's
not
North Sea
Sandy.
Road.
No.
Yeah.
North
No,
Sea
next to
Road.
the, next to the
Those-
post.
The one,
These?
right.
Those are easements?
Those are easements. Whatever those easements are, by the way, they just identify as easements, so they could be
Right.
a conservation or an
But then you
access.
can go into the.
You can go in
checks
and check.
And get it what
Um,
it is, right.
So we could deem this one complete and schedule the hearing
There are-
for January.
A lot of other small lots like that around.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, half acre,
So
sorry.
not atypical area.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you can almost see the
Okay, so we don't have a
subdivision lines.
report on this at all?
No, not yet,
Yeah,
it's just a
yeah.
completion.
Okay, motion to deem this complete and schedule a public hearing for January 11th, 2024.
Motion.
Motion by Craig,
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. 314 North McGee Street
Okay.
is 314 North
What
McGee Street.
happens in 90 North Scenic? Oh,
So-
we just did that.
314 North McGee Street, I'll show you.
My
the final
head
board
got
map.
frozen.
The brain is for you.
You don't feel it.
314 North McGee.
Wait, this is incomplete. Okay. So we have a property here on North McGee. We've seen a few of these on North McGee Street in Tuckahoe. It's an R20 zone. New York State archaeological sensitive area, got an existing residence down here in the front, and potentially some adjacent encroachments here in the back. This is a pre-application. Should note that we have town open lands to the rear here. All this is protected town lands. This application is actually incomplete. Carl Benincasa is the representative. They provided a cluster plan. They show a 4-lot cluster plan with some open space in the rear of the property to be adjacent to.
The town land.
I show a little thing in the front. So I already told Carl they're trying to protect trees. We could do that through buffers and put the open space in the back. But we don't have a yield map for this one, so we're gonna,
Incomplete.
it's incomplete, and Carl's aware of that. So.
Okay.
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
Motion to deem it incomplete by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
204
204 Butter Lane,
Yep.
Bridgehampton.
The board, this was the Equinox physical fitness facility
Yeah.
on Butter to utilize the existing building for like an appointment-only physical, none of the board remembers this one.
Yeah.
So
The site
this
visit.
one required going to the zoning board of appeals because of the parking,
Mhm.
which they were successful with the planning board's advice.
Mhm.
They've come in with the formal application. I'm still waiting on the engineer's comments, and so we're gonna deem this one incomplete as well.
Motion by Kate,
Second.
second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. Claire, your Seahorse Stables at 4 Whispering Fields Court
Yeah.
in Watermill.
Yeah, it's also called TAHA, I guess Taha One or something. That's another name
TAHA?
for it, but I will relabel that. This is for modification to the horse farm for some additional sheds and changing some exercise rings. It is in order, it is, have everything we need to process the application. I was just double checking with Kristen. I was recommending the 11th, but that would be the 4th one on that date. Does that sound reasonable? I don't think it'll be very controversial.
No.
It's up to you.
You're looking at December 11th?
January
January
11th.
11th.
January 11th, there's 3 on for that.
And it's complete.
It is
Where?
complete. It's
Do
it's
we
a
know-
working horse farm. It's the
You have
maximum
CR
number of people.
120 with question mark. Do you know what zone it is?
Oh, that's the labeling issue with the
It's
minute
just
track,
CR
which is
120?
failing on us.
It's CR 120.
It's
They're gonna
CR
change all of
120.
this, you'll have a new thing to learn.
I know.
I'll go
So,
for that.
yes, I would recommend January 11th. I think it should be pretty straightforward application.
So it's complete,
Mhm.
January 11, 2024. Motion
Motion.
by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. And we have Wave Center, 144 Mariner, consider completeness. Oh, this is 154 Montauk Highway in Watermill.
Yeah, this is the.
Oh, this is the veterinarian,
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the one I was going to suggest, never mind. It still needs its ZBA. So they submitted the application in anticipation the ZBA would be coming next week. I have to deem it incomplete because it doesn't meet code for the setbacks.
oh, the
setback
side yard
relief?
setbacks?
Needs a 50-foot setback for any buildings
Oh, it's
from
the way it's angled.
the way it's angled,
Mm.
right?
But they've gone to ZBA for
That relief
relief.
from the special exception standard of the
But the
50
building
feet.
already exists.
The building
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
exists.
Ethan Allen was the
It's
tenant
Ethan
here.
Allen, yeah.
Right, they're changing it from Ethan Allen, which is retail permitted, to the vet services, which is a special exception. So
Special
it needs
exception.
that special exception standard of the 50 feet to be waived.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Clear.
we need to deem it
Deem it
incomplete,
incomplete?
but I'll bring it back on the 14th if they get the ZBA decision so we can process the application.
okay. Motion to deem it incomplete? Motion. By Craig, second by Kate, all in favor? Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Then we've got 1004 Montauk Highway.
Just down the street. On the other one.
Now, which one is this?
This is a vacant piece of
Oh, it's
property
vacant, yes,
that
yes,
was
yes.
recently cleared.
Cleared.
It's a violation.
Yeah, it's grown, all grown back in.
The applicant's representative is here.
It's right next to the, it's east of the gas station.
It's east.
What is that
East
funny,
of
what is that street, that funny street? Gallagher's Automotive is on it.
Oh,
You
yeah. I
know,
know
it's
how
that
it is.
Will-
Yeah.
Willow,
It's not
Willow?
Willow.
It's not a real street though. It says highway to Deerfield?
Yeah, Willow, well, some
Willow,
parts,
Willow,
yeah.
Willow, you can come off
It's
the
a cutoff,
highway.
yeah.
Yeah,
Get to
yeah,
Deerfield.
and you
But
get
it's right
into
there.
Deerfield by the railroad tracks.
Exactly.
Calling it anything.
It is, it's got a name on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's, the engineer says it's a highway to Deerfield Road.
Yeah,
so.
it's probably the survey.
Yeah. So, this is an application to do a medical office building. I think it's 2-story.
Another medical office.
Yes, yes, so, I did ask them for elevations, and that's with the pre-submission, and they do have renderings also. So this is the renderings that are provided. It's a pretty modern building. Actually, this reminds me of the one in West
Building we've
Hampton.
seen before, the same architecture?
Looks like the building in West Hampton. Anybody familiar with that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Fitness
Overhead
place.
Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
don't know, people have given up on overhangs on roofs, you know? Which is too bad. And how many, it's a 40,000 square foot parcel and the building is 6,500.
Mhm.
HP? It's good, okay. Is it?
Where are we gonna get all these doctors to fill
See
these
the logo?
buildings?
It's not that big.
Great question.
That's right.
At NYU, we got at the HS
Am I in the
Hospital
right
Special
place?
Surgery Center.
Everybody is coming.
Not,
Because the
it's not the opposite corner of that
I know.
white historic building that doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that, right.
No, I drive by it every day.
Yeah,
That's a cutoff.
true.
Do you want to speak?
Only if
Okay.
All right, so this is setting a
Pre-submission conference, I think our next date is January 25th. Right?
Claire, this is complete. You're
It is, we've
satisfied?
got the basic information to process the pre-submission conference.
Okay.
report
So,
application.
motion to deem this complete and schedule a public hearing
Motion.
January 25, 2024. A motion by Dennis,
We're
second
setting
by
a
Gloria.
pre-submission conference, right? For a
Pre-
public, not
setting
a
a-
public hearing, or?
Pre-submission
No, just
conference.
Pre-submission
We'll talk
conference
to the
is a
board.
public,
Right, right,
the public comes.
Correct.
all right.
So motion, did I take a vote?
Yes.
Not yet.
No,
we didn't-
no,
we
you
didn't
just
vote.
had, no.
We have a
Okay.
motion second.
Motion, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor.
Yeah, you cleared the room, just about.
Pretty much. Claire, you have just 2 more, so why don't you go on?
Did we say something?
23 Ocean Road
Did
Real
we say
Estate.
something offended?
I love it.
That's an extension, right?
Oh, yeah, I do, I have
Which
that.
item is that?
Number 23, Ocean Road Real Estate,
Oh,
412 and 426 Ocean Road. An extension to,
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's an extension for 90 days.
extension to 90 days. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by
Second.
Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Great.
abstentions. And Claire, your last one is an acknowledgement of a signature.
I haven't seen the paperwork.
That's actually off the agenda.
which item?
24,
24 is off.
Conscious Point.
For Conscience Point Selfish Hatchery off.
Yes.
Okay. Anthony, you are number 19. No, wait a minute, did we do number 1?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty short.
Anthony, your Harborview Landing, 329 East Montauk Highway,
Yeah,
Hampton
so
Bays.
we got an application in, East Montauk Highway here. So here's you coming in, this is the area where Edgewater is, and then further to the east there, you have this property,
East or west?
East.
to the east, I'm sorry, yeah. Yep, to the east here. They came in,
This is the one, they have the signs that you read one after the other?
No,
Yeah.
actually, that's further up. The high and dry?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a little further up.
So-
Which way do you mean further up?
to the east, yeah.
Okay.
So it's this property, just giving you the street view because it's just easier to see. We got an application to do some renovation work on this structure right in the middle here. We're gonna deem this application incomplete because we need some more information from the applicant, which I requested. This is motel zone, they have a CO for motel units, right? This is, but there seems to be some indication that these are rental units. What I thought was going to be an easy application, I need more information because we'll probably have to take the opportunity now to get things
Could be
corrected, but.
Affordable housing?
Or potentially full-time.
Yeah, you know, there's a question that these are not being used as
Motel.
motel units. So I alerted the applicant, I asked to provide some more supporting information. I gotta Google, I have to pull files, so we'll deem this one incomplete.
And this was requested to be expedited?
Initially, yeah, and I advised them as that, just because I said, oh, it looks like you're doing, and the renovation work looks nice. It was just when you get the application, you start doing research and then things pop up.
Is there a C of O on this?
There is, and it's for
Motel.
motels.
Common issue.
So we'll deem it incomplete and I'll continue.
What is the maximum length of stay at a motel?
There's two types of motels. So it's transient up to 2 weeks, and then there's ones that you can do weekly. That's more like a resort motel.
Right.
But you're not allowed to do year-round rental. Has the code enforcement been alerted?
Here, I'll tell you right now. There had been something a while ago on this, because they did work. So somebody did issue a violation in February, work without the benefits of permit. Updates it to 2-story dwellings and two-story motel units. See that there's questions all over the place that have been acknowledged by code enforcement, so we'll just deem this incomplete and try to get the information. And then to advise the applicant how to proceed, or what the procedure would be. So we'll just deem this one.
Okay, motion to deem as incomplete
Motion?
by Gloria,
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. And you have 2 more, Anthony.
Yeah, I'll just-
Are you on tonight?
Yeah, I'm on tonight. Brown Development Corp.
Number 21,
Number
Brown
21.
Development Corp., 259 Majors Path, North Sea.
Yep, we did an approval for this one, and they're still just trying to get their final maps to me, so this would just be an extension of time to submit the final maps from November 6th, 2023 until February 4th, 2024.
February what?
February 4th, 2024.
Lots of twos and fours.
Yes, okay. So, motion for the extension.
Motion.
By Gloria, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor. And then you've got 22, Anthony, your last.
Yep, so 32 Hill Station Road, do you remember this property? Some of the board members?
Yes.
This goes way back. Actually even had a final approval for a 3-lot subdivision.
This is the funny angle.
Yeah, this is
subdivision,
the interesting one here. I actually met with the
Shinnecock
applicant
Hills.
yesterday, finally, so, he asked for an extension until, next week, actually, which I actually put it on the agenda, so it's November 16th.
So it's an extension to November
16.
16. Okay, motion? Motion by Kate, second by
Second.
Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 7 in favor.
And just real quick, Jackie, I'll be here tonight with Seth Race. He's our new planner, actually, that I didn't introduce. That's Seth. He's coming from the building department.
Yay.
Has anybody left there?
No, I felt terrible. I said, I don't hang out with applicants during the meetings.
Yeah, I was wondering who
So
you
he'll
were
be
buddying with.
tonight.
Pleasure to meet you all, look forward to working with you.
Same.
You got a taste
Welcome.
of what we go through.
A lot.
Okay, well, welcome. Teresa, you're 20, number 20, 2297 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. What is
This
this?
is a pre-submission conference application. It is complete, and I am recommending that a public hearing, or a pre-submission conference be held. Initially, I had recommended the 11th.
Is this the Farrell parcel?
It is, yes.
Bridgehampton.
And so we're recommending a pre-submission conference hearing on January 25th.
It's complete?
Yes, it is.
So, and construction, of another office building.
Of an office building and accessory apartments.
Right, have they
haven't we-
given you elevations?
They did. Would you like to see them?
Yes,
Haven't we seen this before?
yes.
A bunch of times? Okay.
Is this next
Well,
to
no,
his
we've
other?
seen, he's done the same thing,
Right.
right down the street,
Okay.
moving east.
Yes.
Oh,
He
so
had the
his buildings
original
are down.
building, then
He's
he
got
built
two
the twin
side-by-side
of that
buildings.
building.
Yes, and now this is
And
west of
now
that.
this is west of that.
Okay.
It's a cleared
The
lot.
one next to it is Saunders, I think.
Saunders, right.
Yeah.
They took
So-
us down in 2 hours, they took down a beautiful house.
This is the proposed office building. It's a 2-story office building.
That's Teresa.
And then these will be the accessory apartments, which will be on the rear of the lot.
So 2 separate buildings.
2 separate buildings.
That's in the rear?
That would be in the rear, yes. So that larger building, it would be approximately where this building currently is, or partially where it was. And then the accessory building would, with the accessory apartments would be back here, closer to the existing adjacent residential parcels.
Is that Church Street?
Yes,
Yes,
it
Yes,
it is.
church.
And everybody has to exit onto Church now.
Yes,
Because
yes.
the
Yep.
And,
state doesn't.
Just so you are aware, this parcel, if adopted, would be as part of the historic district.
Mm. So they would be required to build something.
They would be referred to the Architectural Review Board for
Help.
review.
Architectural or sort of historic?
Have they adopted that district yet? No.
No.
Both, I mean, obviously both, but if they adopt it, there will be standards.
Yeah.
Right. That's what-
Are they going to adopt it, Claire?
That's a great question, I was just thinking that.
I was at the public hearing on the 14th, what day is it? On October 26th. It seemed that a lot of people were in favor of the historic district. The board members seemed to be in favor of the historic district. Members of the public seemed to be supportive. So
So they need to act on it at some
Did
point.
they draft any design guidelines yet?
I believe, yes.
Yes.
There will be design guidelines, yeah,
Okay.
I've seen them. Yeah.
You've seen them?
I think they were presented to you.
They were, yeah.
They were.
um,
Yeah.
Here.
You weren't here.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Does this
Very
building
good
conform with those?
No.
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 Okay.
So again, this is to
Question tree.
schedule a pre-submission conference for January 25th, 2024.
January 25th, you said?
Yes.
I thought it was 24th.
25th.
No, they,
That was February, that was, 24th.
January 25th.
11th and then 25.
Okay. So, to deem it incomplete?
no, it's
No, do we-
complete.
It is complete.
We would be scheduling a pre-submission conference.
Pre-submission conference for January 25th, 2024. Motion
Motion.
by Gloria and second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 7 in favor. Have we done everything?
I think so.
Looks like it.
Christine, do you want to do a exec session with us about?
If you feel like it's necessary, I'm happy to, I can also just talk to Gloria, and it's up to you.
I would kinda like to hear
Yeah,
about it
let's
too.
do a quick exam. Okay, motion to adjourn
Motion.
by Dennis, second by
Second.
Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? We are adjourned.